A 200.
There's only
Yo.
Hey, what up, dude? Thanks for the donation, man. Appreciate it. Very kind of you. Bro. I don't know what the fuck happened, but, that cold I had was pretty bad. Like, that was one of the worst colds I've ever had, and, I think the fucking, like, sore throat lozenges I was eating made me have, like, fucked up diarrhea, and my digestion isn't normal yet. I just had, like, wasn't, like, full-on diarrhea, but it was pretty soupy. And, I'm not enjoying that. Stop. Too much poop.
Maybe this will make you feel better, VG.
When humans eat loudly, it's unpleasant. But when baby animals do it, it's adorable. In preparation for the upcoming Dragon Boat Festival, Yunnan Wildlife Park in southwest China prepared a feast for their resident tiger and black bear cubs. Zongzis are sticky rice dumplings, filled and wrapped in leaves, and each species got a meal tailored to their dietary preferences. The zongzis for the tigers included beef and chicken breast. For the bears, various fruits and veggies and steamed cornmeal buns were served. The only thing better than this lavish meal is watching how ridiculously cute they look enjoying it. This is Inside Edition Digital.
Well, they should feed the tigers vegan cat food. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo.
My view is that
Yeah, the welder I just got has a stick welder functionality. I was welding the broken exhaust pipe on my bike today. It's almost all done. I just have to drop the exhaust to weld the last little bit. It turned out pretty fine. It's not the prettiest weld. One, because I haven't welded in a really long time. And the main thing is I had to just weld it at like a super fucking weird, awkward angle. I couldn't just take the exhaust off, and I had to like get under the bike, and I barely had any room, and then I like welding the top again, like no room, so doesn't have to look pretty. It's on the right side where nobody can even see it anyway. As long as it's like strong and holds up, doesn't matter. But it looks fine enough. It's not that bad. Yeah, I kind of want to try stick welding. It looks cool.
This matter has been quite rushed. Do you share that perspective?
It would certainly be helpful to have more time. This committee has had 3 sitting days to hear from witnesses. That's not sufficient for legislation of this level of complexity.
Look, this is the most dangerous surveillance bill I've seen in more than 10 years of doing this work in Canada and even in other democracies.
And we look forward to working with the opposition on an appropriate language that the
This guy's a fucking asshole, just a worthless, lying, fucktard piece of shit. Carney's public safety minister, whatever this fucking asshole's name is, Paneer Jadeep Singh or whatever the fuck, I can't remember. I hate that guy so goddamn much. Just one of the most weaselly, dishonest, lying fucks I've ever come across.
we can live with.
Do not let the public safety minister convince you that limited amendments will fix C-22. They will not. Nothing short of striking the majority of Part 2 will protect Canadian privacy.
The bill has a blanket secrecy provision that would essentially prevent us from being able to explain to our users that these changes had been made, or if discovered, why they had been made.
Part 2 is really the problem with this bill and could ultimately make Canadians less safe, not more.
Part 2, the way that it is currently drafted, is incompatible with the fundamental human right to privacy.
Google has significant concerns with several elements of Part 2 of Bill C-22 as it is currently drafted.
C-22 would let the government compel us to construct the very surveillance apparatus we have refused to build, to log who is talking to whom, when, and from where for up to a year.
It affects every Canadian who depends on secure private communications to bank, access healthcare, run a business, or simply talk.
Yeah, that's the liberals for you. It's just what they do. They just do that. I fucking hate them. Brother Tofu, no tillers, what up, VG in the house? Oh, you know, just having diarrhea, feeling tired. You know, the usual. Thanks for the donation, Brother Tofu. Why am I... Oh my god. Why can't things just work? Is that so hard? Edward Snowden's a fucking piece of shit. I hate that fucking cunt.
Also sad news, VG, former child star Davey Chase from Lilo and Stitch and the Ring has died.
Former child star Davey Chase has died. The actor's boyfriend, Roy Hernandez, told TMZ that she died Tuesday from meningitis and a blood infection. She had been admitted to the hospital earlier this month for malnutrition. Chase may be best known for voicing Lilo in the 2002 animated hit Lilo and Stitch. She also played Lilo in the film's sequel. Chase appeared as a terrifying evil presence in 2002's The Ring. She won Best Villain at the 2003 MTV Movie Awards.
Oh, what the hell is meningitis? Inflammation of the protective membrane surrounding the brain and spinal cord. That sounds very much not good. Hopefully I don't get that. Thanks for that donation, Dodo. This is going to be a very
Also
annoying
sad
night.
news, VG,
A very
former
annoying
child
night.
star Davey Chase from Lilo and Stitch and the Ring has died.
Am I... The Streamlabs website isn't working properly, and I just... Oh my god, this...
A booga booga booga. I'm sorry, Mr. Gaines, did I scare you?
Nah, I'm good. Thanks for the donation, dude.
On the bright side, this bill will also make preaching that homosexuality is evil illegal.
That's probably not worth it. Thanks for the donation, Dodo. Yeah, this is going to be a very, very annoying night. Kid Boo donated $2.
Inquiry report has just been published, and over 250,000 white girls were raped and trafficked by Muslim immigrant pedophiles in the UK. And that's just what was reported over the last few decades. I sifted through 219 pages of this report. It was incredibly hard to stomach, but here are my findings. Around 95% of the perpetrators were Pakistani Muslim gang members. The young girls were targeted by race and religion. The perpetrators would often refer to the girls as white trash, pig dogs, and chanting Arabic words praising Allah before performing their demonic activities. Some of their horrendous acts involved glass bottles and baseball bats. Girls were branded with an M for Muhammad. Girls were mocked for wearing a crucifix during the rapes. Girls were forced to have abortions with knitting needles. The report mentions how those in power have failed these young girls and the UK by undermining the severity of what was occurring. Some of those people including the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, the Prime Minister of the UK, Sir Keir Starmer, and police, social workers, and teachers, to name a few. One testimony specifically that was hard to read was of one girl who was getting trafficked. Her social worker attended her wedding, and during the wedding ceremony, she was raped while Muslims next door celebrated. This is in the UK, mind you. This needs to come to an end.
They're not going to do anything. They're dedicated to this multiculturalism bullshit. So they're not going to do anything. This is probably going to be stupid.
You know, I don't see any Ukrainian grooming gangs running around raping British girls, right? Because Ukrainians don't tend to do that. I don't see the Hongkongese phone snatchers on the streets of London, even though we welcomed tens of thousands of Hong Kongers in a short period of time. We have got to be selective, and it's not about, blaming this group or...
Okay, yeah, sure, great. I don't know why you sent me a video with this dipshit. Just staring at the video.
Think about Carmelo Anthony getting sentenced to 35 years in prison for murder.
Who the fuck is that?
He's a 19-year-old kid that stabbed another kid to death at a track meet.
Well, then he deserves to go to jail for a long ass.
Okay, thanks for the donation, Kid Boo. Sir William is Dutch Meyer donated $10. Have you seen the new DJI M2 S motor? It puts out 150 Newton meters.
Dude is vegan and benched 515.
I'll look at that in a second. Thanks for the donation, dude. Torque and 1500 watt peak power for up to 60 seconds at a time. It's crazy. Yeah, I've seen it. The problem is it's really small, right? It's that tiny little circle motor thing. Or am I thinking of something else? So I don't know how good it is with heat management, like given it can only do that for 60 seconds. Okay, no, it's a bit bigger. I'm thinking of something else. It is still a small motor. Like, it is still small, so I don't think it does heat management all that well. I'd be a little skeptical. So far, from what I've seen, Yamaha motors tend to be the most reliable as well. Some of these electric motors are prone to water intrusion.
People like that should honestly be put to death, as well as the politicians who enable it.
Yes, I agree. Thanks for the donation, Dodo. And thanks for the donation, Sir William. Let me see. Why is he going in reverse? Why is it reverse? That is a very, very crazy bench. Bible Black? Oh my god. What? Why did he use that music? What the fuck? That's cool. Yeah, that's pretty dope. Thanks for the donation, Silly McGuire. Dodo Tellers, do you think Dr. Avi is regretting his vote now? Was some ploy to get Maj Taba to come out of hiding for an assassination attempt? We should be honest about what this appears to be. Capitulation, bent over, face down, ass up capitulation, sort of capitulation that makes Obama look like a hardliner in comparison. Yeah, it's bad. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince blah 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 says he has no information about a reported $300 billion reconstruction fund. Says Iran's attack on Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states have resulted in significant loss of trust. Yeah, no, if you're going to write Israel into deals you wouldn't even let them read, might as well include the Gulf states and promise $300 billion of their dollars too. Yeah. It's just like, what is this? Pages long cope fests about how maybe the MOU isn't so bad are insane. Guys, it's bad, and if Obama pulled even half the shit, hey, it's only fair for Iran to have ballistic missiles, well, you'd be losing your minds right now, and rightfully so. Yeah, totally. One of the big reasons why Obama's nuclear deal was such a bad deal is because it let them develop a ballistic missile program. And then there's Trump. Well, they can have some ballistic missiles. Everyone else has them. Like, dude, it's insane. If it's any consolation, the path I chose, voting for a madman, is a path where I myself will get burned from time to time. Guess this is one of those times, well, there's at least some schadenfreude for you in that, so in the spirit of keeping things organized, here's a post where you can tell me how I fell for it again, I should have known better, how I voted for this, blah, 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 yeah. Thanks for that donation, Dodo. Brother Tofu, $22, love kitty cat. Me too. He's really good. I love this kitty. He's so good. Thanks for that donation, dude.
Week, the internet churns out a new figure from the industrial sludge of TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram who goes viral for being annoying or...
You know, when the entire island is drowning underwater once the polar ice caps melt, I really won't have even a little bit of sympathy from them.
Yeah, me neither. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Strange. Daniel Larson went viral for dine and dashing. Clavicular went viral for bone smashing. Now, there's Chud the Builder.
They chipping out! They chipping out!
He went viral for hundreds of clips just like this one, receiving praise from those who see him as a free speech warrior and hatred from others who call...
I love how this, like, gross, fat, short retard is, like, acting as though he's part of the superior race.
him a grifting bigot. As his notoriety grew, so did the repercussions to his personal life, from multiple platform bans and arrests to confrontations with his enemies.
You're chimping out! You're the chimp, monkey! Look at this, I got his hat right here!
It all culminated in Chud shooting someone who allegedly assaulted him and a state charge for attempted murder. But Chud doesn't exist in a vacuum. While he may have only come on your radar in the past few months, he's had a long history both on and offline. Today, I'll examine his past to see how we got from this to this.
I was ready to chimp out.
We got 18 rounds for you, we ain't got nothing else.
He will often go up to black people.
What are you doing there, Gum? I have a cat butt here. Petting a cat butt. Cat butt, cat butt, cat butt. It's a cat butt. My goodness. It's a cat butt.
and call them, you know, what was deemed to be like the worst thing possible.
Somebody get him a banana. He's
tripping out. You want to go call black people the N-word to their face. That's your God-given right or something.
Get his license plate.
I really don't like that approach of antagonizing people in public. I just don't.
But everything is about to get much worse for Chud.
Deputies say Dalton Etherly was involved in a fight leading to gunfire.
Support freedom of speech.
I'm being persecuted for a law that does not exist.
Chud, you're beyond cooked at this point.
Faces attempted murder and other charges. Prosecutors argued that Etherly built an online following by provoking confrontations in public.
I love Chud.
Chud has reached new levels of desperation.
I hate this guy so bad.
Chud's latest arrest is...
Brother Tofu, don't you tell us what grocery store do you shop at the most? Will you do a shopping vid? Kind of already have. If you watch my last vlog, I went to the grocery store. I usually shop at Independent because that's the closest one in my area. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Just that. If you were to visit the Montgomery County online record system and search for his real name, Dalton Levi Etherly, you'll quickly find a sizable rap sheet. The earliest thing I could find is a simple drug possession case from 2015, which I believe to be a match for this mugshot. Look at this chummy guy. I bet he'd never call strangers the N-word. It's also worth noting that Chud turned 18 a few months prior to this offense, so it's not like he was running out on a family of 5 to smoke crack. He was just a kid. Adding to my point that this was a small, immature crime is that given how this incident put him on probation, you can check the details on the court proceedings to find out that Chud had his grandma making some court-related payments for him. I think this is just about the only significant crime of this whole era, since the 4 other pre-2020 entries to his criminal record are 3 instances of speeding or following too closely or driving without a license, and 1 other instance of him breaking some financial responsibility law, which also seems to be related to driving. We do have a mugshot attached to the not having a driver's license case, and there's also one last mugshot that I haven't been able to attach to any specific case, as the charge listed is tampering with or fabricating evidence, although it's probably from the same era based on his appearance. After these, there was a noticeable hiatus in his record, and you may think that's because he matured and stopped involving himself in petty crimes, and you would be wrong. He just got fat.
We get high, we get fat.
Credit where credit is due, though. By September 2020, he had already lost all the weight, as documented by his grandfather on Facebook. However, one thing that's strange and doesn't follow the pattern of Chud's previous offenses took place in August of 2022, when he was hit with an order of protection, which is...
Be fair to Trump, what did you expect him to do? They took out the supreme leader, many top leaders, and the regime just replaced them. There wasn't an armed opposition, so it'd probably have required a prolonged ground force to achieve real regime change.
Well, they could have made sure the Strait of Hormuz stayed open. They just didn't make any security plans for that. They thought the regime would topple over easier, so... You know, just didn't turn out the way they figured it would, and... Like, it's just so bad. They should have just committed to a more prolonged conflict at this point. If this is the best they can do right now, it's so stupid.
The only valid criticism as far as I'm concerned is identifying that Trump didn't have the hindsight to know the only way to achieve our strategic goals here was to do a prolonged ground invasion and or heavily arm the opposition.
No, they could have made security preparations to make sure the Strait of Hormuz stayed open. But everything else, in terms of the military strategy, could have stayed the same, so... Like Trump's an idiot, so you know what do you expect? Thanks for that donation, Raf.
Basically a restraining order from someone named Heather. It's unknown why this order of protection was petitioned for by Heather or why the judge granted it, but it was dismissed by March of 2023 when Heather didn't show up to court. The information on the specifics behind this case is just not there, so we really can't assume whether it was warranted or not. Now, in keeping with the theme of trying to protect people's privacy, even if they have some direct connection to Chud, I'm going to refrain from mentioning names or showing any pictures. But as alluded to by Chud himself several times later on, at one point he got with a woman, had a child around 2023, and now he doesn't live with either of them. He even mentioned being court ordered to pay child support to her, as he's now with another woman who he also didn't marry. Based on this information, we can put together that Dalton was a pretty typical guy at some point. Sure, he got hit with a drug charge, but it was pretty minor and when he was barely an adult. He eventually had a kid and split up with the mom, but once again, this happens all the time. And it's entirely possible he was paying child support before his online fame. But that's about the end of the life of Dalton and the beginning of his ascension to making Chud history. In January 2025, long before he had any significant popularity, there were several Facebook posts in local Clarksville, Tennessee groups talking about him. Dalton, completely unhinged, took advantage of me and my body, and I was terrified. He's racist. He has skinned wolves in his trailer, aka a literal shack. Bugs everywhere. Cameras inside his house everywhere. I'm scared to even post this because this man is insane. Please steer clear. I have more screenshots as well. This is a...
The military strategy would have worked in any other country where it's not entirely filled with fundamentalist ideologues top to bottom. Truly, I don't see a path to regime change without a ground force at this point to take control.
I think there's two things that the US didn't quite count on. One, I don't think they great. Here we go. Oh, net. Yeah, fuck. At least that works. Give me a second.
And they say women are smarter than men.
I'll take a look at that in a minute. Thanks for the nation, Dodo. I think there's two things the U.S. didn't count on, and I wasn't fully aware of this either. One, the IRGC is way more religiously fundamental than I realized. Like, they are crazy, unhinged religious whack jobs. So the whole reason they're willing to take things so far is because they think they're fulfilling some sort of religious prophecy. And two, they are absolutely dedicated to maintaining control of the region, like their country, at no matter what cost. They will kill as many civilians as they absolutely need to. So the chance of any successful like people's uprising is practically zero because the population is unarmed. It's not like the United States where everyone has a gun, and they're willing to just massacre everybody. They will kill everyone to maintain power. So you will for sure need to have some sort of military ground invasion or just bomb the ever-living fuck out of them, like World War II Hiroshima style, to really get anywhere, because like they're so willing to commit violence against their own people. Thanks for that donation though, Raf. Shut Ipt donated $2. What Iran got, 300 billion. Well, they didn't get it yet. Like, what's weird is Saudi Arabia says they have no idea where this 300 billion idea is coming from. So, remove sanction, control of state of Hormuz. Well, that's not true. Maintains missile program. Yep. No destruction of nuclear program. That's not exactly true. They're going to be allowed to use. They have a nuclear weapons program and they have a nuclear program. They can maintain their nuclear program for like energy, which is fucking bullshit. But as far as their nuclear weapons program, that is that supposed to be gone? And it's kind of murky. Who the fuck knows? But supposedly they're going to have to get rid of their enriched uranium somehow. What the U.S. got, higher gas prices, that's only temporary. Billions spent. Like, it's not all bad. Iran has no Air Force, no Navy at this point, and a fuck ton of their leadership is killed. China's certainly going to have a harder time invading Taiwan because of all of this. And, like, as bad as things went in the end, like, the U.S. at least showed, like, look, if you act up, we're killing your leadership. So, like, if Xi Jinping invades Taiwan, we're not, like, the U.S. isn't just going after the Chinese military. They're going to kill Xi. So that should scare the shit out of anybody who thinks they can act up. No major objectives achieved. It's not exactly true. Americans dead. 6 deaths. Like, great. This is a little disingenuous. Thanks for that donation, dude.
Nice to meet you. Are you planning on voting in the midterms? The people that voted for Trump are just very fed up. Both my husband and I are really disappointed.
What is the #1 motivating factor for you when you decide, who you're going to vote for?
I don't want a party that's going to tell my son he can cut off his penis.
But your plan is to vote Republican?
Yes.
The Republican Party is the party of freedom.
These are some of the voters that Donald Trump and his Republican Party desperately need. Is influential with young voters. President Donald Trump has credited the organization with helping him get reelected and bringing more young voters into the conservative movement.
It's such a great place to be in here in America, is being young, being a female, being conservative. They all just play hand in hand together.
Savannah Stone is a 21-year-old trad wife influencer with 800,000 followers on social media. She is a rising star in Christian conservative circles, even though she embraces highly controversial fringe positions.
I'm going to start this off really strong. I don't think women should vote anyways. If somebody asked me, if the government was like, okay, if we could have a more conservative country, if all women...
I wouldn't go as far as saying women shouldn't be allowed to vote. I would just say the way we're raising women and the type of media they're exposed to is making them fucking retarded. Like, this whole anti-gun movement, it wouldn't exist if women didn't have a right to vote or weren't raised to be fucking retards. Women are prone to just believing in some of the stupidest fucking shit. Like, chances are the population of people that would benefit most from firearms would be women. Like, black people, for one, just because they live in, like, the shittiest fucking neighborhoods with the dumbest, like, most fucked up, tarded gang members. Like, if you just look at the murder rate in black neighborhoods, like, yeah, like, normal black people who aren't fucking gang members, they should absolutely be armed, and a lot of them are, because they know how dangerous it is. But, the second most, like, the group that would benefit the second most, just because of how vulnerable they are physically, women. But then what do? Like, you'll hear all this fucking shit from women about how, oh, I don't feel safe at night. So many guys are looking at me and I think I'm going to get raped. And then what do? They carry like a rape whistle. It's like, the fuck? And then they vote to ban guns so that they have no access to guns and only criminals have them. Like, women believe in stupid shit. Like, you can look at all the fucking women in Code Pink. Like, Code Pink is pretty much entirely women and like maybe 8 gay dudes. There's a reason for that. Women are prone to just believing in, like, some of the stupidest fucking nonsense, just communist horse shit. George Orwell also talked about how women are, like, probably more prone to ideological radicalization within the Communist Party. So I wouldn't go so far as to say women shouldn't be allowed to vote, but like we have to like seriously consider how we're raising women, like what we're teaching people in school, and like how we run social media and stuff, because yeah, there's a lot of dumb shit that happens politically because women do get a right to vote. And like a lot of women just happen to think of like really stupid horse shit. Grey Knight donates $2, not for you, but maybe anyone viewing this that is interested in a job opportunity for the federal government. Applications will be available no later than June 30th.
Is now paying people to learn cybersecurity. Today, June 1st, the Department of War Cyber Apprentice Program is now open for applications. In this program, you will...
Okay, cool. Thanks for the nation, Green Knight.
Gave up their vote. I would gladly give up my right to vote to have a more conservative country.
There's a lot of churches that talk about it.
Stone argues that women voters are too liberal, so the U.S. should shift to a one vote per household system.
Now, is that a hill I'm going to die on and run for office and try to complete? No. That's not my main message. That's just one of the opinions that I hold, because I think that would be better for society.
I actually do agree with her. I would as well give up my vote if it got rid of things like abortion.
We spoke with several.
What do they mean by one vote per household? Like, what if you have roommates? What, like, it's just weird. What if you live on your own? Like, it's just strange. So if you live on your own, you get to vote, but then if you live with other people, you don't get to vote. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Women open to giving up their own rights in pursuit of a more Christian conservative America.
My perspective as a Christian woman is that my husband and I are one flesh. I vote the same way he does, so honestly, I would be okay with giving up my right to vote because I know that he would represent me well.
If my husband's the head of the household, I am the neck, and we work very cohesively together, so I would imagine.
Yeah, what's his name? Andrew Wilson, his wife, is in favor of getting rid of women's right to vote. I can understand where they're coming from, like, especially since they, in particular, deal with so many, like, weird, insane retards, like, who are lefties, but it's just a bad idea. I don't care if somebody made a video about me, dude. Like, great. People do that all the time.
A pretty serious claim. But however you feel about Dalton given his recent antics, I want to say that this is just an allegation with no credible proof. We can confirm the took advantage of me claim as much as we can confirm that he had skinned wolves and had bugs in his shack, which is to say we really can't confirm either of them. But at the end of the day, this claim doesn't really do justice to what he was actually up to anyway. Another Facebook post, this one from the Idiots in Cars Clarksville group, described something closer to what would become the calling card of Chud's persona. So let's
Iran has no navy at this point, that's right, but as they proved, all you need is some small boats and drones to shut the Strait of Hormuz, so that doesn't matter. Also, Ayatollah is 40 years younger and more hardlined, and it sends the wrong message to China.
No, again, the U.S. could have set up they could have set up proper security for the Strait of Hormuz, but they just didn't. They gambled on the idea that Iran would just be overthrown and they'd get a regime change quickly, and it just didn't turn out that way.
Agreed, there needs to be a serious shift in our education system.
Yes, thanks for the donation, Dodo. You need a navy because, again, they had absolutely no answer for the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz. They couldn't do anything. Oh my God, whatever.
I think this will be overlooked, but think about the message this sends to China. They will be live. Trump does not have the patience for a long war or costly war, so if they invade Taiwan or if Russia invades Georgia, the US will likely minimally or not intervene.
Russia isn't invading any other country. They're done. And the Taiwan thing is way too important, so they would definitely commit to intervening. Again, the only reason Trump was motivated to make this like garbage deal is just because of the way it was infecting international trade and oil prices. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo.
Talk about this guy. My mom is driving me to school, right? This guy almost sideswiped us. So we went in a different lane and he came over and spit on my mom's car. And I asked, "What's your problem?" And he calls me the N-word and held this up. If you try to search for any activity regarding the name Chud the Builder prior to 2025 on any platform, you'll find next to nothing. So we can assume that the majority of his early shenanigans were documented on his Instagram account, mostly composed of videos like these.
Chimping out. He's chimping out. What are you gonna do? You gonna do crackle? What are you gonna do? Crackle? Look at it.
If you're familiar with the way content creators like Johnny Somali and Jack Doherty operate, this kind of thing should ring some bells. However, what Chud is doing harkens to a much more ancient tradition.
Also, Israel is the one that did the first strike which killed the Ayatollah and many of the top leaders, not the US. So what you said earlier about 11 being scared is silly, VG, since it was not even the US that did that and they aren't scared of that. Let's be hun.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Race-baiting pranksters of the early 2010s, where In the Hood was one of the most infamous video title qualifiers right next to Gone Sexual. Who could forget this classic?
What's up, my neighbor? What's up? What up, man? You say to me? So what's up? You can't say that shit, homie. Neighbor, please.
The difference here is these older pranks were intended purely for comedic purposes, to entertain a neutral audience.
You're on camera, bro. We're shooting a video. I said neighbor, I'm your neighbor.
Chud had a different goal, rage baiting black people in the street to try and get a reaction so that his audience can reaffirm how they see black people generally. Even with Johnny Somali, who crossed similar lines and is now facing some serious legal consequences, the objective was simply clip farming, not making some point about the people he publicly harassed.
Go to Johnny's favorite, we're gonna have a good time.
For Chud, the objective is precisely to elicit the kind of reaction that his community can further politicize. So he began walking around armed or with a mace, usually asking his more reactive targets to do something about it.
Do something about it. He's chimping out. Look at him chimping out.
But before his content could even hit the mainstream and find its home on right-wing Twitter, the only people it made its way to were his haters. A Twitter user named...
And speaking of Israel, VG,
it looks like an increasing number of Israel's devotees, their endlessly devoted supporters here in the United States are urging for the use of Israel's nuclear weapons. The nuclear weapons that they refuse to acknowledge exist. Israel's the only nuclear power that not only refuses to acknowledge their weapons, they're not part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and on top of it, they go around bullying other countries on their nuclear programs.
Yeah, because those countries are like fascist dictatorships.
Now, with that in mind,
this is like saying, well, what do we care if Hitler is like creating a nuke? America has a nuke. Shouldn't Hitler be able to have a nuke? Like, as if that's the same thing.
One of the arguments that I just heard on Piers Morgan's show today was, well, what's the big deal? Iran is dangerous. They shouldn't have nuclear weapons. And Israel's never threatened to use their nukes, except they have. They have. In fact, Jonathan Pollard, that disgusting traitor to the United States, has on multiple occasions suggested the use of...
These are people who spread Beijing propaganda, and they're saying that guy's a traitor.
Of unconventional weaponry, which just means nuclear weapons. Now I'm hearing, based on videos that are posted on X, sorry, I was listening to Mark Levin argue that Israel, this is a direct quote, Israel has some very, very powerful weapons that it has not used. What do you think those very, very powerful weapons are? I mean, they've used the 2,000-pound bombs. That's not
great. Who cares? Bangoose is donating $2. He is so chicken. He is pretty chickeny. My goodness, very round.
Trump did the right thing by negotiating a deal to end this. The deal could be marginally better maybe, but this thing was doomed from the start and he made a mistake starting it. At least he realizes that and is ending it as fast as possible.
Oh.
Would you like another omelet?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a possum.
Here we go. Come on.
Let's give him an almond.
Go,
Give him an almond.
There you go.
Yeah, the almond. Yes, that's his almond. Oh my god, they're so cute. Oh. So chumbusy. Wow. That's a good chonker. Oh my god, I love groundhogs. Oh. Wow, that is a beautiful squirrel. Oh my goodness. That is beautiful. Oh. It's a monkey. It's a little monkey. It's a squeaking monkey. My goodness. Thanks for the donation, Bangoose.
Named No Cap Rich was spreading around an image of an old Facebook post. This came from some kind of underground rapper or online personality called Lalo Tarantino, and he said this: "What's effing me up about this Dalton situation is for years, dude was my biggest fan. Used to listen to my music, buy clothes from me, trying to talk black and use slang, even defending black people." The attached images show Chud's Instagram account, which originally had its bio say that he was a free speech patriot, followed by him indicating he was an Orthodox Christian and the owner of a company called DLE Contracting. It appears that the Facebook page for DLE Contracting is still up as of me making this video. So if you're in Tennessee and you'd like to have Chud do some grout work at your place, he's open for business. Interestingly enough, he even tried to make this business somewhat branded with his usual shtick, with the bio for it saying it was a white-owned business and one of its posts cracking some joke about the hard R. Lalo's image is followed by screenshots of DMs from July 2019 with Dalton's account, with Chud replying to Lalo's story saying, "Lamau, this got me."
New Frank shorts. Let me take a look. Yeah.
And my forehead so.
Whatever you guys want to claim, I don't give a fuck.
Really interesting how the narrowing of the nostrils made Clavicular's face look so much more narrow. And it goes to show your hypotheticals, the pitch Dr. Miami made to Clavicular. Oh, you're going to mug, bro. Your nose is going to look so much better. One thing is theory. The other is the actual results. And is he botched? The main two concerns are the nostril asymmetry and the downturned nose. I think it's pretty bad. It's just we're not going to know for a few months how bad the botch is. Right now, I think it might actually look better than it's going to. I think he might be in for a rude awakening in a few months.
It's a really bad idea. Really bad. He did not need a nose job.
Is back in jail, boys. He was let out on bail initially.
Hey, I thought people named Mason were allowed to abuse children, but we could sit here all day and argue what's stupider. Going to...
Is that the Looks Maxing guy?
Hollow is back in jail, boys. He was let out on bail initially.
Hey, I thought people named Mason were allowed to abuse children, but we could sit here all day and argue what's stupider. Going to Thailand, getting 5 surgeries, and looking the same, or what Hulo did. Regardless...
C tipped $22. Destiny was right. He's never right.
We don't have
Thanks
the
for
evidence.
Donation, dude.
I haven't seen the facts with my own two eyes, so I can't say for certain what happened here. We don't know. None of it could have ever happened, or something worse could have happened. We do not know. I do find it strange, however, that all of these online influencers
I'm not talking about Andrew Janik. I'm talking about the guy he was talking
were
about.
supposedly in the same group as him, in the same media circle, none of them are defending him. So this is either some really strange publicity stunt. They're trying to set an example of him. Maybe he wouldn't diddle with the old men, so the old men wouldn't let him diddle the kids. I don't know what happened. I'm just curious what their end goal is.
Frank is retarded.
I was in this live stream for less than 5 seconds, and the first thought that came to my mind was, what type of scam is this? These guys are getting dozens of orders per second, and he's standing there like, oh, no one placed the order yet. No one placed the order yet. Place the order. You're going to get a free $100. They literally think you're some like sub 50 IQ sack of money. It's absurd how little Base Bodyworks thinks of their customer base. Base Bodyworks thinks all their customers are a bunch of young idiots. They get their schmuck in front of them. Oh, you're going to get free. You know what? I get DMs all the time of people saying they want to give away from the Base Live, never got what they put in. So not only would they never show the actual order screen, they're not even giving away the actual giveaway items. These people need to be fined into oblivion. This is why.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. It's just a scam.
Be vibing. What you doing around noon? I'ma hit you up. God damn it, Lalo. Beans, my new MF anthem, cuz this hard. I ain't even know you put this out. Lamau slapped him with the I-24 reference. Cut me. Ain't nobody making music for the doughboys out here anymore. We need this stuff. Let me know if you want some real players to rep your stuff early before release or some. Lol. Bro, still trying to get this last little 10 pounds or so off before I buy some shirts. I think I may need a small now. Appreciate you, homie. Lamau, hey man, I respect your hustle for real. Plus, this shirt smell good. I don't know what detergent you use, but damn, put me on. One day, that's gonna be an old Beamer pulling out with you sitting driver's seat. Keep up the grind, fam. The most ironic part about all of this is that one of the screenshots of this post shows Chud complaining about the use of the N-word. Of all things he could complain about. Literally had a come in my DMs just now and try comparing the word hard with the N-word. Effed me up, as if they were even close to the same. One is rooted in honest linguistic usage. One is rooted in pure hate and dehumanization of an entire race of people. MFs are delusional. Aren't all words rooted in linguistic usage? Whatever that really means, I think Chud was just yapping to impress this guy for whatever reason. We can even add this to the lore by checking the comments, where we can find another gentleman of African-American persuasion saying, me and bro used to run it up together. I don't know where this came from for real. He used to be my dog. Someone else said, I met Dalton in elementary school, but he used to stay in Greenwood. He was never like this, and I can say he was always a cool white dude. I never saw this happening. In one particularly odd comment, Chud is accused of being a cuck and a creeper, but these baseless accusations are mixed in with some true things about him being fat, living with his grandma, and having joint custody of his child with his ex-girlfriend. Attached to the post is a seemingly real image of Chud being arrested, but while the comment accuses him of stalking minors, the restraining order he got in 2022, as far as I can tell, didn't involve any minors, but instead a woman that was of age. If I were to guess, this is someone who does have some extra information on Chud, but is exaggerating it because they have a bone to pick with him given recent events. This same person's Facebook shows them sharing videos of black Israelites, meaning black people who think that they're the real Jews of the Bible, and here they have some white guy kneeling before them and asking for forgiveness for his ancestors' sins.
All the way down. Now, we're almost there. There's one last step because our people are the most compassionate.
So you can sort of guess what kind of goofballs come out of the woodwork on these subjects. But before I go any further, let me just ruin the flow of this whole video to say that I have new merch.
We have a few different designs available right now. There's a long sleeve, my personal favorite. There's also a short sleeve. Short sleeve is more of a gym shirt. This one I just wear on Grindr to meet men. I twerk wearing this shirt to meet men on Grindr. I'm gay. My merch designer, SB, put a lot of time and effort into these designs, and he did a really, really good job.
The white shirt has a plague doctor Victorian theme, which is all original. None of it is AI. And the t-shirt has more of a jungle, more of a monkey, more of a simian theme. When I started releasing clothing, we definitely achieved that.
It's clothes you can wear.
We also have stickers if you don't want. Now you can get whenever he talked to a black person. He was a full-time devoted wigger. All the way back in 2014, when he was 17 years old, his account tweeted out a picture of cops with the caption, got an N-word sweatin', hashtag pigs, hashtag F the police. Given that he got arrested and charged with illegal possession a year after this, these cops were presumably looking for him. It's also interesting that underneath this post, he's talking about celebrating Boosie's freedom, in reference to rapper Lil Boosie being released from prison at that time. Other recovered tweets of his from this period include, but are not limited to, y'all about to see me come back to Central looking like a rich N-word. Your boy getting money now. Afro Man is on point right now. All my black friends would cry if they sneakers got dirty. I'm turning the F up tonight.
Got that dank stocked.
As a means of making fun of him, his past was dug up, which is how you get this image right here, which you may have seen before if you already know of the Chud phenomenon. Sorry to break the news here, but this image is AI generated. I think this was the first instance of it being posted online, and this is the original, which you can see was his original profile pic on Twitter. As his past was being dug up, and Dalton was producing a number of rage bait clips calling people the N-word, he left a small trail of pissed off citizens who wanted to pitch in their 2 cents. For example, Twitter user Robbie Harvey made a video which contained a personal testimony from one of Chud's targets.
We were walking through Walmart when a grown man looked at my girls and called them. Then he looked at me and said I was a f***ing joke.
and he walked away, repeating the N-word with the hard ER at the end.
One of the guys he said was chimping out in one of his videos also spoke out.
My friend's pregnant. She works up there at Kroger, so I park in the fire lane. Mind you, she's 7, almost 8 months pregnant, about to drop a baby. I'm not going to walk through the parking lot. She's pregnant like that. So I pull up. Before I even got to say a word, man, he had already walked up and was like throwing racial slurs at us, calling us chimps and hard ER with the N-word. Like, and then by
sins of the father is such a stupid concept.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
the time I opened my window and said, hey, do you have a problem? He pulled his phone out and then started recording. I was like, yeah, he's chimping out. Like,
now, while we don't have footage of the first incident, we do have footage of the second one.
What do you mean? He chimping out. He said, what's the issue? Because I looked at him.
Chimping out?
He chimping out.
Put that phone down.
Why?
Phone down.
You don't like looking ugly?
Put that phone down, boy.
Shut up.
It's very clear that this guy is engaging with Chud and being belligerent, but it's possible there was some off-camera lead-up to the recorded situation, so it's still without context. Regardless, these testimonies were paired with the somewhat important claim that Chud would also, on occasion, brandish his weapon in a threatening manner. Chud saw and replied to Robbie's video saying, "Never happened. Continue the slander. The lawsuit against you is going to be magnificent." I'm not sure what he's calling fake here since he's not too specific, but as far as I know, he never filed a lawsuit against these guys, either because they were telling the truth or they're lying and he just didn't think it was worth the effort. The entire community of Clarksville, Tennessee was quickly up in arms about Dalton's behavior, so much so that the local police felt the need to issue a statement. The Clarksville PD is aware of a video circulating on social media. We want to make it clear that this type of behavior is not condoned, and the individual seen in the video is not affiliated with the Clarksville Police Department in any capacity. We take this matter seriously and are looking into it further. The department will be seeking legal advice to determine what type of action, if any, can be taken. Clearly, the authorities were not interested in letting this stuff be filmed and posted in their town, and as a result, they were looking for some legal remedies. Although, from the post itself, they seem unclear on whether or not any laws were actually broken in the recordings, probably because, like it or not, you can be racist to someone without it being a crime. In the lead up to all of this breaking, Chud had gone massively viral at least once on Twitter by recording some random woman going nuts at a store.
It's the usual suspect.
But this
VG, give us a front double bicep PLS.
No. Thanks for the donation, Brother Tofu.
video getting to nearly 2 million views and a lot of engagement, it significantly boosted a lot of his other posts from that same month. In one of them, he brings up the assassination of Charlie Kirk to explain why him saying the N-word is a form of protest.
You got freedom of speech. You just don't have the freedom of consequences from your speech. It's like telling an inmate, hey, you got the freedom to leave your jail cell. You just don't have the freedom of consequence. Hey, you got the freedom to speak, but we're going to threaten you with deadly violence if you do use that freedom. Oh, but it doesn't sound like the white man's very free. You're going to threaten me with deadly violence? You're going to threaten to starve my family and my company? Am I really free to do that? And if I'm not free, then why are we not fighting for our freedoms back? Are we just okay with losing our freedoms as white people?
But for the time being, the citizens of this town were at a loss. The police couldn't do anything, meaning the only option was to criticize him publicly, or try to rally support for something to be done. They made a change.org petition.
Hey, again, we're doing $2.
So I do want to say, you know, I feel bad for the...
Yeah, we've already seen that. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Demanding that some form of action be taken. While there's plenty of comments about the legal status of calling someone the N-word at Walmart, some of them give some more interesting context. This guy is a transplant from Indianola, Iowa. He was fired from his job. Wonder why? It's because of his actions. And then he started his business thinking Clarksvillians would tolerate this BS. I've known Dalton for quite some time, and it's sad to see he fell down the internet media hole of grifting. He was once a nice guy who was worshiping Liver King, and now it's Nick Fuentes. So this man is lost and 100% lying about everything he did to get here. Even possibly his sexuality from what I knew way back. Whole different person before the crystal-wearing Bob Marley lover we knew. This has to stop, and he really needs to know he can't do this to people. This claim that he was previously a Liver King clone is something that has shown up a lot in other places, but if it is true, I haven't been able to find any content resembling that. Here, we also see the resurgence of the claim that Chud took advantage of a woman. I previously talked to Dalton. I met him through Tinder and went to his house. He had expressed racism and many displays of strange behaviors, and I was too scared to leave. He wouldn't allow me to, and he had forced himself onto me. Afterwards, he acted strangely and threatened me with legal documents after I reported all of this publicly on Facebook, posting photos of him and messages. This man's deranged and needs to be in prison. I'd really like to see whoever is claiming this happened to actually come forward and provide proof for what they're saying, given that this has been said multiple times with no proof presented. Whatever the case, it's clear that the people of Clarksville were not happy with.
Here's something that women do. They'll make up these fucking claims about sexual assault for, you know, supposedly righteous reasons. So if they think somebody is genuinely a dangerous person and a piece of shit or something, they think they're justified in accusing them of rape because it'll make people afraid of them, or it will put the police on them in some way. Even though it's not true, they're preventing like a greater degree of harm. I've seen this happen. There's some crazy fucking bitch in a vegan activist group who thought she needed to accuse some dude of rape because she believed the guy had raped some other girl, so she made up a lie that she was raped by him too. And none of the accusations ended up being true, either one of them.
I trained a neural net on 500,000 Pornhub video titles to figure out what things stand for.
What does Nora stand for? Naruto OnlyFans rough anal. What does slut stand for? It stands for squirt like you talk. What does vegan gain stand for? It stands for versatile Euro girls are not gonna 8-inch night strap on. Okay. Thanks for the donation, non-whip.
With Dalton. At the same time, he had been trying, and succeeding to some extent, to earn the sympathy of people online. He put together a Give, Stand, Go campaign with a $300,000 goal, titled Help the Chud and His Family. My name is Dalton Etherly, and I'm reaching out with a heavy heart, fighting to protect my family and my business. Just over 1 year ago, I started DLE contracting in Clarksville, Tennessee, out of sheer necessity. I was fired from my previous contracting job after BLM activists targeted me over words I shared online. Jokes and opinions they...
Okay, this guy's, like, genuinely fucked in the head. So he has, like, an actual business, and then he's doing this shit?
Twisted to end my career, with no other way to support my family.
Like, this guy is genuinely an unhinged whack job. As far as I understand, like, black people need contracting too. So do, like, Mexicans, Chinese. Like, there's also a lot of white people who don't appreciate racism either. So, like, this guy's actually trying to run a contracting business and then is, like, posting this insane, wacko, racist shit. Brother Tofu only tells, hey, you, when's the last time you trained MMA and talk about it? I've never trained MMA. I did kickboxing and jiu-jitsu for a bit. What's your thoughts on UFC 250 Freedom Card? Like, don't ask me those sorts of questions, dude. It was good. Thanks for the donation, man.
And my precious 2-year-old son. I poured everything into this small business, working tirelessly to provide for my family and build a future. But now, that dream is under attack.
Like it's stupid to ask me, like, some weird, open-ended fucking question. Like, what, like, thoughts on UFC 250? Like, do you want me to talk about the venue? Do you want me to talk about the spectacle, the air show, the fighters on the card? Was the fighter lineup good? I could talk about each individual fight. Like, it's just such a weird, open-ended fucking question that I could spend, like, 30 minutes going over. Just, like, ask me something more specific.
Not for the quality of my work, but for what I say online. I've shared mild jokes, unfiltered thoughts, and yes, sometimes I've used the N-word in what I thought was edgy, harmless humor. I know it's controversial, but it's my right to speak freely. For that, hundreds of people in my city are slandering my business, spreading lies to tear down everything I've worked for. The hate has escalated to a horrifying level. I've received death threats so vile, they shake me to my core. People threatening to rape and murder me, and even targeting my innocent 2-year-old son with unspeakable cruelty. As a father, hearing these threats against my little boy breaks my heart and keeps me up at night. In the midst of this nightmare, a spark of hope emerged.
Maybe you shouldn't harass black people in public?
I went viral on Instagram, gaining over 23,000 followers who connect with my story, my resilience, and my refusal to be silenced. The slander has crushed my business's income, and I'm struggling to keep food on the table, pay our bills, and protect my family from this onslaught. He goes on to ask for money to pay for living expenses, explore legal options against those who have slighted him, and find new ways to earn a living. But this isn't just about money, he says. It's about standing up to a mob trying to destroy not just my family's future over words, but our rights to free speech as a whole. So there are a lot of things to get into as far as this block of text goes. The first of which being the this isn't just about money thing, it's standing up to a mob part, reeks of ChatGPT or some other AI writing. I don't really have some major issue with AI, but I just can't help but pick up on this telltale sign that this guy resorted to ChatGPT to try and concoct a narrative that made him look more sympathetic. Secondly,
Brother Tofu, don't you tellers go screw yourself, dude? You're an asshole. Okay, thanks for the donation.
As far as I can tell, he's never actually proved that he was fired for an edgy joke. Maybe that is the case, and if it is, I actually do feel bad for him. But from the get-go, people were taking issue with him going out of his way in public to call random strangers the N-word. I've yet to find any evidence he's been the victim of some kind of injustice that led to him doing his current shtick. Someone who does have that kind of backstory is Gypsy Crusader, who was actually trying to build a career as a more conventional right-wing journalist and turned into the racist joker after he was assaulted by several members of Antifa.
What's wrong, kid?
I shot boy for being gay.
Oh yeah? What's about to happen again?
It seems that Chud wanted to have the same kind of tragic backstory. The last piece of this Give, Stand, Go puzzle to analyze is his repeated mention of his family and his son, who, make no mistake, are absolutely undeserving of any harassment and death threats they've gotten. Again, regardless of how much of a nuisance or an asshole Chud may be, death threats, especially directed at people who aren't even him, should never be tolerated, as they cut much closer to being illegal than the stuff Chud says. But in spite of this all being true, it's pretty dishonest how he keeps bringing up the family stuff when he is known to be separated and not with his son. At most, the money he gets on this campaign is going to be paid as child support, but on the page, it isn't made clear by Chud. With this amount of small inconsistencies inconsistencies, you'd imagine that people would at least be skeptical. But alas, there are a lot of people who just see Chud's case as the front line of their political cause. So they were more than willing to throw money at it no matter what the small print said. As it currently stands, he's just a couple $1,000s away from his goal of $300K. Just as things escalated more and more online, Chud was suddenly arrested for harassment. Although he was almost immediately released, soon after the arrest, another thing popped up on his record, a restraining order which was dismissed within a month of it being granted. Commenting on this development, here's what Chud had to say. I'm now being accused of stalking by a certain AT&T employee who I met only once ever in my life, the day she decided to slap my phone and assault me. This person is now claiming my single post about her is a form of harassment. I need an attorney as soon as possible. I was served an order of protection this morning by the sheriff, with a special request that I not be allowed to carry a firearm as part of the order. These people are trying to conspire against me in order to strip me of my rights, all while I receive death threats from people all across the country. Much later on, the specifics of what happened to get Chud arrested and served a restraining order in the first place were clarified. November 17th, 2025. In a coffee shop parking lot shared with the DA's office, a man recognized me, filmed me, and escalated with threats, including sexual assault against my companion. I recorded back. Video went viral. Minutes later, police pulled me over, said DA office called claiming assault witnessed. They reviewed my footage, saw no crime, and released me. November 18th and 19th, 2025. Charged with harassment via call forwarding. The harassment was me forwarding incoming calls, doxing, and threats from third parties encouraged by one antagonist back to him. I never contacted him, never responded. He even texted, "Why aren't you responding?" Charges appear fabricated to counter viral backlash. Public.
Just when you think the UK couldn't get any worse.
Let's just get more now on this extraordinary breaking news that we've received in the last hour. A 3-year-old boy is in a critical condition after he ended up in a crocodile enclosure at Johnson Zoo in Huntingdon. A 30-year-old man from Norfolk has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. Cambridgeshire Constabulary has issued a statement which reads, at this stage, we're speaking to people who were at the zoo at the time of this distressing incident to understand more about the circumstances. We do not believe the man arrested and the child are known to each other. Officers are supporting the boy's family at hospital.
Let me guess. An African migrant threw the kid into the crocodile enclosure. Thanks for that donation there, Dono.
Spin falsely paints it as racial targeting. So in this explanation, both of the people whom Chud got in trouble with were men, but he referred to the AT&T employee who supposedly slapped his phone and hit him with a restraining order as a she. So it's kind of unclear just how many situations were going on at the same time. Whatever the case, it's clear that the clips he was posting online were getting him a lot of negative attention in real life. In a video update, he tried to further clarify the situation.
For weeks, I've been getting harassed. I report the harassment. I made some videos where I stirred some people up, but I did nothing illegal in those videos. Clarksville PD gets all the pressure from the people believing those slanderous videos, and they say, why haven't you arrested this guy? Then I allegedly forwarded my calls for a single day to a person who's been posting my number saying, call this person, and they come and arrest me for the harassment that I've been reporting that they do nothing about. Then they paint a target on my back and say, you're not allowed to leave the state and you can't carry a firearm. If this doesn't sound like conspiracy to have somebody killed, I don't know what is.
In this instance, he talks about him forwarding incoming calls as alleged, despite not having done so before, which I can only assume is him being legally careful so as not to implicate himself in admitting to having done something that would fit the bill for harassment. But despite how many issues he was involved in at this point, none of them were sufficient to actually stop Chud from continuing his rage bait content campaign. But it did seem to make him take a bit of a detour for the time being. I assume because he was temporarily without his gun to protect himself. On November 21st, he uploaded a video of himself at Planet Fitness with the caption, mogging these chimps in the WLM pump cover. WLM standing for White Lives Matter. During this brief
Yeah, he ain't mogging anybody.
He also resorted to uploading some of his greatest hits, including what he described as his first video to go viral on Instagram, which showed him getting yelled at by 3 white girls outside a bar.
She's crashing out.
He claims they were mad because local fat single mom Facebook groups have been obsessed with me for years. True. He says they broke his phone and ripped his shirt, but he forgave them with no charges filed. As pointed out by some people in the replies, this post, like many others of a similar pattern, don't show exactly how the altercation started, and we have to go exclusively off of Chud's word for context. Besides this re-upload, this entire period of November 2025 was rife with Chud posting pictures of himself trying his hardest to mog and look Chad. One aspect of Dalton's online presence he's been pretty consistent on is
Yeah, he's not doing a great job of that.
It's Christianity. In the first call-out post about him, he was holding out a cross while driving and supposedly calling random people the N-word as he spit on them. Clearly, the church was an important aspect of his life, making it all the more difficult when his local chapter took issue with his online shenanigans. My baptism was coming up before I went viral. Because of the pressure coming from people who hate me, my baptism was canceled and I was banned from the community. In the attached screenshots, we can even see what his priest had to say. Dalton, for the safety of everyone involved, because of all the death threats, please just stay out of things. Until things are better, praying for you, but please stay out of the community chats and stay away from church property. You and I can have a visit somewhere at some other location. Once the death threats stop, praying for you. This is a pretty reasonable message considering that Chud himself acknowledges that the threats of violence he receives have at least some chance of being genuine. But he wasn't about to take this one lying down. Good luck with that. These people want to see me dead. I say a word. They want to kill me. I think I've done my job at exposing who is the hateful party in this whole situation. Glad to know persecution and threats of murder are something that the church shies away from. Christ is with me, even if this modern clergy isn't. I have the sneaking suspicion that going around purposely trying to piss people off and then accosting your own priest over DMs while you're converting isn't exactly the most Christian course of action. I'm no specialist on the subject matter, as I'm sure many of you could easily figure out, but back in the good old days of century number, One, there was a big debate going on about whether Christians should still observe the dietary laws regarding pork that used to be observed by the chosen people. There was actually a council held about it, and the conclusion, laid out by none other than Big Paul in Romans chapter 14, verses 19 and 21, is that although it was technically okay for Christians to do these things since it held no religious meaning for them, it was unadvisable to do anything that would gratuitously offend or scandalize others. This meant that although you could eat pork, for example, you shouldn't go around looking for Jews just so you can stand in front of them while slamming down a
barbecue bacon.
A little Bible study from yours truly in a video about the guy who says the N-word to Clip Farm. This isn't to say that Chud or anybody should never do anything offensive ever, or that they shouldn't be allowed to. But when you do it gratuitously in public in front of families and then grandstand about it, well, you're gonna get called an edgelord. Or in the modern day, it gets you called an official partner of the Kick streaming platform. About a day after he tweeted out about what the priest had said, he apparently
Bro, he mugs you, be honest, face card wise. Sure.
committed contempt of court in presence of court, which basically means he disrupted the courtroom while in front of the judge, but ultimately this was dismissed. I think that getting kicked out of the church led to Chud spending a lot more time online, as from this point onwards he was on Twitter all day arguing. In a thread that was originally supposed to be about how insane people are for threatening his 2-year-old son, within just a few tweets, it turned into Chud claiming that they took away his son and his ability to work, followed by a tweet which read, "I'm self-employed with more motion than an N-word like you could ever dream of. I've got more work now than I ever did before the fame. Your attempts to starve me did not work. Now go find something else to seethe about, chimp." If he has more work than ever and motion, that's a pretty different tone than the pity begging for help on his fundraiser. If you want to ask people to pay you to say the N-word, it's a free country, I'm all for it. But I can't help but think it's a little shifty to act like you're a charity case targeted by cancel culture and then turn around and brag about how much motion you got. This whole web celebrity thing was getting to Chud's head pretty quickly, and like pretty much everyone else who gets involved in this political realm of the internet, he immediately got in a catfight with another right-wing content creator, Beardson Beardley. These two were basically arguing over which of them was more representative of or closer to Nick Fuentes' community. Whenever someone made fun of Chud in the replies, he made sure to reply back to brag about how much he mogs them and how good he looks now. This was also the same approach he had to making fun of an AI-edited image of Beardson, saying, "These fats no longer represent the Groyper community. Come pick on me and Clavicular. Why are you people always going for the low-hanging fruit? Yeah, trust me. I went through the looks maxing phase before it was cool. I'm unk for real. That stuff's for kids, and Clav is a young man. He will grow up, as did I. Still, physiognomy never lies. The uglies are always weak-spined and repulsive. I thought Beardson Beardley was cool until I heard his space tonight where he talked shit about me for absolutely no reason besides jealousy. Screw you, fatty. Go log off." I can't help but find it funny for someone to say, "Come pick on me and Clavicular," tagging him in the post like they're buddies or something. He's actually tagged Clavicular in multiple posts. It's always cringy when someone is overeager to try and ingratiate themselves into a community, but to try and self-insert into the looks maxing stuff is so out of left field, which makes it very clear he's just trying to hop on the Clav bandwagon that was taking off around that time. Of all the things you can say about Clavicular, he at the very least has made it clear many times that he doesn't ever want to seriously engage with politics or become a political content creator. The worst part is that Chud tries to act like he's been looks maxing since before it was cool, and specifically claimed he's been saying mog since way before Clav, when the earliest instance of him doing it online comes from just a few weeks prior to this. If I'm posting shirtless pictures online to try and own people on Twitter when I'm almost 30, I hereby give you guys permission to take me out. While their on-stream engagement didn't yield much of interest, given they just bickered a lot about who was Nick Fuentes' favorite, their tweets at each other are pretty funny. After Chud tries to make fun of Beardson's follower count, Beardson replied saying this, "Maybe I should e-beg for 100K because my family is in danger," then proceed to go scream the N-word outside. You can't even take your family out to dinner because you're banned from everywhere for being a low impulse control idiot. Chud then tried to say he had already been banned and canceled before he was an online personality, which again, I haven't really been able to verify. They both go on to call each other cucks and Jewish, and then Chud makes his own thread to talk about their interaction. He also allegedly doxed Beardson's address in a threatening manner, which he simply addressed by saying, "The beta groypers and the chimps have teamed up against Chud." Dude, we are so cooked. I deleted the tweet because I don't want to come across as the gnome bully. I just want to see the chats and meet my favorite streamer IRL. But all throughout this beef, Chud always made sure to make more mild statements when it came to Nick Fuentes himself, most likely because he was still hoping to be taken under his wing. But for the time being, this didn't happen, so he got back to his business of calling people the N-word in parking lots. And make no mistake, business was booming. He also continued the age-old tradition of infighting with people in the same community, like in this interaction where this guy says, "Stop gaslighting yourself, spiritual Jew." And then Chud says, "Can't wait to beat the out of one of you." St. Nicholas moment. This is literally the meme. This is the meme. He's doing the meme. Then, in early March of 2026, Chud was scheduled to appear in court for one of his past charges, only for his public defender to not show up and his phone and meta glasses to be seized as he entered the court, which he claims was unconstitutional. Although the charges he was going there for were related to his antics from the previous year, in the same month, he announced that the judge ruled in court that his Give Send Go earnings reflect his consistent ability to make $40,000 every 3 months or so, and that his child support payments would be set based on that. Yet another total victory in this cursed, fallen world. On stream, he added some more context.
I was ready to chimp out. I said, "Judge, I'm gonna appeal that. We're gonna be appealing that, dude. The police, bro." Like, literally, I'm going back full wigger. I'm on child support now. The state even fought for me, bro. It was like, well, as the defendant has stated, you know, he's not making that consistently, has not made that consistently. You can't even argue that I have in the past. The judge literally says, "No, we're going to make it higher than that."
After being racially demoted for owing child support to his baby mama, Chud repented from his racist ways and decided to show some love for the other ethnicities, specifically by forgiving the Japanese for Pearl Harbor.
White to the wise. Remember Pearl Harbor.
Fortunately for him, rage-bait streaming was alive and well, and April held even more controversy for him to farm notoriety off of. Yet another clip of his went viral, and funnily enough, in the same gas station where he was calling this black dude the N-word, he was approached by several black queens who had a surprisingly positive reaction to him.
Y'all feel me?
Yes.
How old are y'all? Y'all are grown. All right, cool. That's all that matters. I just gotta make sure for the stream. These people are crazy. Y'all got my back?
We got your back.
Have you seen that video of Spurs fan taking out a bunch of Knicks fans? No, and I don't care.
Damn, dude.
His streams from this period just got more and more viewership, so it's not surprising that he eventually ended up on the radar of Aiden Ross. Aiden used to be one of the biggest streamers in the world, and in some ways he still is, just not to the same degree. This is partially because he rode the wave of the online right wing exploding in popularity in the past few years, pushing him squarely outside of the mainstream streamer world and more into the area of deplatform political commentators like Nick Fuentes. And it's also because Aiden really likes drinking lean, and well, when you drink lean, you typically don't stream that much. So once Chud and Aiden were streaming side by side on Kick, it's not a shocker that they crossed paths.
What's your pal? You wanna get maced right now or what?
Yo, bro. Yo, I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like, dude, like, that's, bro, how the like, did they just fight?
Unfortunately for Dalton, he was suspended on the 25th of April and subsequently permabanned from Kick due to his on-stream activity. This is kind of a big accomplishment, to be honest. Kick is known for having relaxed moderation, so you just gotta give the guy some props for being crazy enough to get banned there. This was followed by the old Facebook allegations resurfacing once again, but there was never any more information added. He wasn't really able to capitalize on the clout and engagement during this time because he was rebuilding his presence over on Rumble, Pump Fun, and other obscure platforms. So he went back to posting himself on Twitter trying to look cute, which actually succeeded in attracting more love from the black community.
Y'all believe in freedom of speech? Yeah, so you're real. Yeah, so y'all are Americans. Y'all never heard the guy saying, oh, look at these guys chimping out? They're chimping out. Yeah, I heard that. That's me. Oh, for real? Yeah.
Unfortunately, despite the inevitable force of attraction uniting Chud with these wonderful ladies, his bread and butter required him to keep his clip farm crusade churning. On the 3rd of May, 2026, things immediately got super hectic once again as he started going around the streets of Tennessee offering.
How much is the most money you've made in a year? Can you give us an idea at least? No. Thanks for the donation, Holy War.
Homeless people money in exchange for the N-word pass.
Come on, get some burgers. But we gotta make sure you believe in free speech first. You gotta, come on, if you believe in free speech, it's free speech. You don't believe in it?
Things were going pretty well, until an incident took place in which he claimed that a woman followed him back to his truck, vandalized his vehicle, exposed herself to him, and then assaulted him. I did find some footage of some dudes threatening and seemingly succeeding in tampering with his truck while trying to come up behind him, as well as a woman assaulting him, which resulted in them getting maced.
Hey, get away from my You're peeing? Look at him live, he's pissing.
So I have to cut up a lot of this footage because it contains a lot of slurs and sometimes people getting assaulted. But essentially, these guys are messing with Chud's truck. He keeps encouraging them to keep going. He says, you know, you're going to get arrested if you do that. You're being dumb. Eventually, some of them get a little more aggressive, but he has his mace on him, and so he's able to.
Hey man, just to dunk on you really quick. If you haven't heard, Garnet was accused of being dirty and cheating yet again. You sucked off Garnet last time when he cheated Aspinall. Now he's showing pattern of behavior with Pereira. Do you admit that Garnet is dirty?
No, you're just a dumbass who doesn't know about any of the rules of the UFC. So, there's different rules in boxing versus UFC MMA. Hits to the head in boxing are like basically behind the ear. Hits to the back of the head in MMA, it's basically an inch in either direction from the line of your spine and the nape of the neck. But if you hit somebody like here, like where Gon hit Pereira, none of those were illegal blows. He didn't make one illegal shot to the back of the head. Herb Dean made a video about it. You just don't know what the fuck you're talking about and you're an idiot. And all the people who are talking about Gon being a dirty fighter, the only reason they're saying that is because they're grifters. You can look at the so-called journalists talking about it. They all get interviews with some of these fighters, and the only way they're going to get interviews is by being nice to them. That's why Ariel Helwani does this bullshit. So they're all just grifting and lying. They're just lying about the rules of the UFC, or they're just completely ignorant and they're complete frauds. And all the dumbass Prairie dick riders, they just don't understand the rules of the UFC. So, no. Thanks for the stupid comment. Appreciate the donation, dude.
To spray them down a little bit with that.
Touch my truck again. Come on over here. Come on over here.
Man, crocs are scary. I mean, they are literally dinosaurs.
I held on as much as I could. I was clawing onto her arm and I was trying to get the other arm up.
It was too powerful. Australia?
Yeah. They are. Thanks for the donation, Dodo. Fighter, and I tell her about Gon's eye poke against Aspinall. It's painted in clear sight. He poked him. Great. I don't know why that means it was intentional. I don't know how that leads to it causing any damage to Tom Aspinall. You can look at the footage. The eye that he claims to have gotten so severely damaged he needed surgery Wasn't even the eye that got poked the hardest. The guy's just a bad liar. Like, stop wasting my time. I don't care, dude.
We're just getting your face on the live. Y'all going to jail. Citizen arrest. You're on the ground right now. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Y'all going to jail tonight. Did you just hit me?
I will try me.
And here at this point, after this girl hits Chud, he maces her in the face, and then she starts crying.
Y'all going to jail.
These clips got millions of views on Twitter, and of course, plenty of controversy followed. Although the clip ends with Chud being arrested, I don't think he really got charged with anything, and he wasn't held for any long period of time. What it did do is instantly catapult Chud back to the forefront of discourse, and unsurprisingly, he ended up being discussed on Nick Fuentes' stream, although not in the way he was hoping.
The issue is, like, the stuff that they're doing is just, to me, it's not nice. I don't believe in that, okay? It's one thing to be vicious to the people in the arena. I really don't like that approach of antagonizing people in public.
Dude, I don't know why Streamlabs is so fucked tonight. It's so retarded. What is it doing? I don't know what the fuck this shit's doing.
Honestly, I think it's just cope by Pereira and his fans because he just got destroyed. That's all there is to it. I actually think the fans of these fighters are worse than the fighters themselves. But have you seen Pereira's social media posts? He's very mad.
Yeah, he's just a dumbass. He has a track record of doing this, for one thing, so I think he's just a really sore loser, and I think he's particularly sore about this instance because he knows he lost a really big opportunity. So, he got fraud checked. Gon's just a much, much better fighter, and, like, he just can't really hang with the best fighters in the UFC. He had a lot of trouble with Izzy, and he lost the second bout, right? So, like, he bullshitted and said, like, oh, the weight cut was too much for me. It wasn't. Like, he's kind of fat in heavyweight. In light heavyweight, he's leaner and better shape. Like, he does not have to do a hard weight cut to be in light heavyweight. He just knew that he wasn't going to be competitive in light heavyweight. He moved up to heavyweight, and then, yeah, sure enough, just gets absolutely annihilated by Gon. Like, some of the shit he's saying is just so ridiculous. He got a lucky jab. How like, you got hit in the face so hard, you got knocked on your ass. Like, that's not luck. That's somebody hitting you harder than you can hit them. Like, it's just stupid. And, like, he was eating jabs the whole night, like, the whole time, so. Thanks for the donation, though, dude. Bro Tip donated, or sorry, bro donated $2. Holy crap, are you serious? Dirty fighters are the worst. That's great. You're stupid. I don't care.
I just don't like that in general. Not even just for politics, but I think that people have enough on their plate. You don't know what people are going through.
Some people found it surprising that Nick was unwilling to support what Chud is doing, given how openly far right he is. But the point he's making here, which he later repeated on a podcast, is essentially that calling strangers slurs in public is in bad form and makes even the far right look bad. Essentially, he's just saying don't be a nuisance in public. This was met with a very negative reaction from Chud.
And the one criticism I get is he's just a little too mean. He's just
I mean, just look at this monster for example.
Under the boat, he's gone under the boat. Whoa, my God, it's huge.
Yeah, it's a big crocodile. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
a little too mean-spirited. Love you, little bro. But just stay in your lane, then. Just stay in your lane, then. Talk about the foreign occupation. You're doing great. You're doing great, little bro. We're gonna go play outside, all right? Have fun on your computer. Play your League of Legends.
Luckily for Dalton, at this point, he had already found some success in some more conventional.
Bro, $22. Who you got? McGregor versus Holloway. I'm not entirely sure. Being a drug addict and not training and being older, definitely can have an effect on your fighting performance. So, I would say McGregor probably has more of an uphill battle than Holloway. Like, either McGregor, like, there's only two reasons I can figure why McGregor decided to go into fighting again. It's either he's broke and he needs money, sort of like Floyd Mayweather, or he he's like got problems with drug addiction. He clearly has problems with drug addiction. And he knows the only way to get clean and healthy again is to like focus on fighting and make sure that, you know, he stays on the right path and it's like clean, dedicated again. But yeah, the guy's older and he's been abusing drugs for a while. He may not be the same person. We're going to have to see. Looks like he was kind of fucking around with steroids for a bit. So yeah, I really wouldn't be able to tell you. I just would say don't be surprised if McGregor's not in great shape and he kind of gasses out quickly and he doesn't have the speed and power he had before. And especially coordination. Thanks for the donation though, bro.
Clip farming venues. So all he had to do was keep pumping viral moments out and not worry so much about justifying the stuff that he did with some kind of political angle. Of course, this...
Alex did not get hit in the back of the head. Not a single elbow hit him in the back of the head.
Meant that the clips were going to get increasingly questionable. But to him, all that mattered...
He did not take half a dozen illegal strikes. You just have... You didn't watch the footage. You don't understand the rules of MMA. Gon did not violate the rules. You just don't know what you're talking about.
Is that he got views, and that wasn't very hard for him to do. It got to the point where a simple, completely mundane clip of him being mildly rear-ended in traffic got over 1 million hits. No N-bomb required. Another one of him arguing with some woman got nearly 3 million, and here, no actual violence even takes place at all. For a brief moment, it appeared that it was actually possible that Chud could maintain his ability to generate viral moments without having to piss people off or mace them in the face. But as I said, this was just for a brief moment, as he went right back to his old ways. Case in point, DJ Academics, otherwise known as the smartest man on planet Earth.
Exiting narrator.
He was made aware of Chud's existence in late April. You see, Ack was caught committing a crime worse than saying the N-word, glazing drink. And Chud responded to the video he posted by saying, "Blacks can't even swing a sledge anymore," shaking my head. And just like that, their beef ignited. When Academics finally put down the Henny and turned his stream on, this is what he had to say.
I'm surprised that there's not somebody already that's just there just to wild out on him. I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. The first who do something to him, that didn't even make a GoFundMe. That shit gonna be lit. Because I think it's something about how the dude is going with what he's doing. It pisses everybody off.
You can see just how high the temperature was getting now. Academics, someone with millions of followers across his accounts, was now basically encouraging people to go out and assault Chud, or worse.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see people die over a word. Well, he's problematic. We might like somebody might have to just do it. I don't care who do it. Black, white, who cares?
In response, Chud did what Chud always does.
Boy looks like a monkey. Come threaten bodily harm in person. I'd love to spray the eyelids back on that stupid monkey. Hi, I'm disc jockey Dimmicks.
This permanently earned Academics hatred, and he continued to revisit the topic for weeks on end afterwards, including commenting on the most recent stories about him.
If Chud beats this case, if a lift a finger at me, I'm killing him. Straight up.
I think no matter your opinion on the people involved, it's clear that this was getting out of hand. No one should be encouraging violence, especially in front of a massive audience where one person watching might be crazy enough to actually go through with it. Thankfully, nothing happened for the time being, but still, this Academics guy, he seems a bit sus. Meanwhile, Dalton resumed his usual shtick for every new gentleman of color he met, even when it wasn't negative. In one clip, he met a black bodybuilder, and the two actually got along. In another, he met an undercover Agarthan foot soldier.
White monster! That's why he's not chimping out. That'll do it. Black guys need to drink a white monster.
Of course, not every Atlantean fellow was going to be sipping on Monster, so naturally, another conflict was bound to happen.
Riling you up, getting you to chimp out. We want you in jail. Literally, all you do is talk about your...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come back over here.
Okay. Let's not
Come back over here.
Let's not fight.
Touch me again. Touch me again.
One of the re-uploads of this clip got over 4 million views. And once again, no arrests or charges came of this, but it's just another example of how these on-stream confrontations were escalating in severity. Just 4 days later, yet another incident took place. Although this time it was just a bunch of tough talk and dudes holding onto their groins menacingly until one of them got pepper sprayed. I will say, it's a little suspicious that there's a cut that doesn't show what happens in the interim between the confrontation beginning and the dude getting maced. Still, Chud suffered no consequences from this whole thing. Oddly enough, the thing that most negatively affected his reputation wasn't one of his negative interactions, but instead one of the positive ones. During one of his streams, he was recognized by a woman in a car.
Yeah, you were cool as I don't remember you that much, but I do remember I know you. See it? We got roots. Hey, you scared me a little bit when you came up like that.
You helped me when you were following Liver King. But before you were following Liver King, you used to sell me weed. I fed you before.
It's been a long time.
This woman, Lily, later took to her social media accounts to add some context.
And he used to sell me weed, and I used to feed him. We used to throw parties like he was not racist. In fact, we used to literally rock out to the Dirty Sprite 2 album. I explained to him, people do not have emotional intelligence like that. You can't just say whatever and think people will not react. So, to my fellow people of color, I'm asking you to keep your reactions to a minimum.
However, things quickly took a turn for the worse, as Lily turns out to not be the most stable and reliable narrator, as her own social media accounts describe her as an occultist, whatever that means, and a pretty woman with a big dick. This instability quickly manifested with her claiming that Chud is being sponsored by politicians, lawyers, and doctors. And then she said that she used to peg him back in 2015.
And we did what, Rada?
A lot.
Me, him, and my ex-wife.
Now, him selling weed in 2015 is just a matter of fact, and it's
weird.
It's unlikely that Lily got her years mixed up since she even mentioned that she would listen to the future album Dirty Sprite 2 with Chud, and that came out in 2015. The problem is, there's absolutely no evidence that they were that close at that point in time, since the earliest text messages she showed were from 2019. Additionally, Chud would have been a minor for the majority of 2015 anyway, so it's not exactly the greatest look for Lily to even say that. Lastly, Chud himself took to Twitter to say, "I never banged this girl. I barely even remember her. Just another clout chaser." But all of this business about his past being drudged up had Chud reminiscing a bit about the early years. And during one of his streams he did from home, he told the chat how his resentment toward black people began, when an African-American cop went a bit overboard with charging him. I have to cut this clip up a bit because he refers to this guy as the N-word cop a few times, but you get the idea.
That's when I was like 18, 10 years ago. Cop pulls up, says, "Oh, you ate the roach? I can see it in your mouth." And I was like, "Yeah, man, whatever." He arrested me for felony tampering with evidence. Obviously, it fully got dropped, the whole case.
You've probably heard stories from black people feeling that they were discriminated against by white cops, but here it's the exact reverse happening, and it also led to Chud feeling like it had something to do with race. Although early May held a lot of signal-boosting moments for Chud, after the Lily thing, it felt like the momentum changed a bit, as if the tides had begun to turn against him yet again, which was punctuated by something absolutely unforeseen and kind of unbelievable. Chud the Builder got out-chudded. His adversary this time was Trev, who from what I can tell is an insane person who uses Twitter a lot. Unlike most people targeted by Chud, who get accosted by him and taken by surprise when he starts running his gimmick on them, Trev totally flipped it around.
Got a souvenir. Hey, why can't you see your son? Why can't you see your son? Ah, he tried it. He tried it. Ah, he tried to mace me. Look at this. I got his hat right here. I'm the cowboy around town now. Look at him call the cops after he just tried to mace me. I'm out of here.
To add insult to injury, after stealing his hat, Trev continued to taunt him on Twitter in unbelievable fashion.
Phase 2 will make us start tomorrow. 8 p.m. Eastern.
This post got over 6 million views, and in response, Chud decided to tag the Metro Nashville Police Department, and when Trev replied saying, "You're the one that's going to jail, not me," Chud responded by saying, "You got so mad that I made you irrelevant, you drove 12 hours to come catch a felony. GG, kid. He assaulted me when he stole that hat, as anything on my body is considered part of my person. He admitted to carrying a weapon while he assaulted and robbed me, making it aggravated robbery and battery. Add on top the admitted intent and continued boasting. Looks like the poor guy is going to go away for a while." I don't think Trev ever went to jail, nor was he charged with anything, and as of me making this video, Chud is currently in jail, even though both of them say the N-word a lot. It's almost like the incessantly looking for trouble part of his content is what got him in trouble, not the N-word part. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. The Trev saga unfortunately closed out with not a bang, but a whimper, as Chud blurted out on his stream that he was planning on suing Trev, and that was about the end of it.
Get sued. It's called theft of property and assault, and then the intent behind it was broadcasted all over his Twitter. I mean, it's very obvious what his intent was.
With this issue dealt with, Dalton was finally free to go back to the regularly scheduled programming, IRL streaming. But before he committed to that once again, he took a brief stop at a restaurant. Little did he know that this benign decision would end in him getting arrested. It's funny that he's been in dozens of altercations so far that didn't get him arrested, and it's him sitting down to eat at a restaurant that actually put him behind bars. Well, not exactly. He sat down and ordered some appetizers, and I guess the people watching called the place he was at and informed them who he was, which isn't really surprising considering that this kind of thing gets done to streamers that aren't a tenth as controversial as Chud. When the staff came over to inform him that he had to leave, he began to outright say that he wouldn't pay for the orders that had already been delivered to his table, all while insulting the staff members. At that moment, nothing really happened. He just left the restaurant, but a few minutes later, 3 cops spawned in and the stream came to a close, as it became clear that Chud was going to jail. This is where the wheat is separated from the chaff. This is where we find out who is a boy and who is a man. This sub-5 stream cell decided to dine and dash a measly single time and got immediately jailed. Meanwhile, the real Aryan Chad Daniel Larson dined and dashed hundreds of times and said the N-word freely without a care in the world, going completely unpunished for years. Chad does what Chad wants. Anyhow, Chud's community was up in arms about this, and he got hit with a misdemeanor theft of services of $1,000 or less, as well as a disorderly conduct and resisting arrest charge, the bond for all of which amounted to just under $5 grand. As soon
I don't care if anybody made a video about me, dude.
as Chud got out, he was posting about the situation. Phone seized as evidence of the crime. No way of contacting anyone. Just got back to my Airbnb after 13 hours in custody for leaving a restaurant when I was asked to. FBI and domestic terrorist detective interviewed me for about 2 hours before they took me for booking, asking if I was a part of some organization. No, sir. I'm just a dude with a camera. I was wrongly arrested after the restaurant conspired to have me charged. Then, I was held until noon on Mother's Day. Had to cancel breakfast plans with my family. I was interviewed by the feds and my bank account was frozen. All electronic devices seized, as well as my firearm. The police cleared my multi-factor authentication keys after they took all my items, so now I can't sign into any of my accounts. I could not care less about some hat. I am simply weary after 6 months of being attacked by our government for expressing the constitutional freedoms our ancestors fought and died for. Wake up, America. It's not illegal for white people to say the same word they say to each other. They interrupted my appetizer several times to tell me people who are watching the stream are calling, complaining about the fact that the man they are actively trying to starve is in the restaurant eating. Didn't get to finish the appetizers before being rudely told to leave. Now, while this treatment definitely seems like overkill if it was exactly how Chud described it, we do know that he wasn't being arrested because he said the N-word. Although the Wake Up America act is kind of convincing for people who share his beliefs, it doesn't reflect the fact that he continually chooses to be a nuisance streamer, and that he was actively streaming in the restaurant, which is what led people to call the place up. Additionally, the starving thing is just clearly such loaded language that it's beyond even being pointed out. But again, a dine and dash and being annoying doesn't warrant getting the book thrown at you, so he was out pretty soon. But this incident seemingly affected him more than usual. When he got back to streaming, he looked kind of defeated for pretty understandable reasons.
I'm just tired. I'm not defeated about any of it, anything that you guys know about. I might as well just tell you what I'm really upset about. My son's mother texted me today saying that she wants to change his name. Switch it from mine. She fears for him. She said, you know, she's like, oh, you've tarnished your name. I don't want him to have to deal with that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I walk through the streets and respectable people are literally stopping their cars in the road to
shake my hand. She's more racist than I am, is the funny thing. She's just a woman. They're all cowards, and I get it. You know, they don't understand what it means
This guy is like one of the most pathetic retards I've ever seen in my life.
to be at war.
As tragic as it is to hear about his son basically growing up without a dad, this is kind of the result of Chud's choices. If he doesn't care enough about his situation that he won't stop what he does, and has never cared enough about this possible outcome that it prevented him from doing it in the first place, then it's hard to give him a ton of sympathy. If Johnny Somali was crying about never seeing his mom again because he's stuck in some hole of a prison in Asia, it would be sad too. But that was his choice every step of the way. What can't be chalked up as easily as the inevitable results of his decisions is another claim he makes in this same stream.
Someone killed my dog, guys. Who's helping me, bro? I can't even, like, my whole family doesn't even help me, bro.
If this is true, then it's exactly the kind of thing where we can differentiate from just Chud suffering for his actions and cruel and unusual punishment that doesn't even target him primarily. His dog, his son, his girlfriend, his son's mother, none of them are him, and they shouldn't be lumped in just because of their association. But just as things seem to be getting increasingly gloomy with Chud leaving Nashville and returning to Clarksville, meaning he probably wouldn't be continuing his usual streaming antics, someone breathed life back into his online presence. Or at the least, its presence in more mainstream venues. None other than the one and the only Charleston White.
Who did the young people pick as their leader? NBA young boy.
Ooh, give me gas talking about that little boy.
He went on his personal social media accounts and on Aiden Ross's stream to beg for Chud to be freed.
Free Chud the Builder. Wait, why?
You wasn't mad at me when I was saying about the Asians, when I was talking about the Jews.
But how does he have the right to say that?
I got the right to say wetback. It's a free speech. I'm not hurting anybody saying that. Well, they wasn't mad when King Von and Lil Durk was on $1 million mouth worth of game and they were serial killers.
I done fell in love with that white boy Chud. I love Chud because you know what Chud is showing everybody? Black people are cowards. If another black person does the things that Chud is doing, white people can go back to mistreating black people. I swear to God. And black people ain't gonna do nothing but take it.
With the support of the African American and Jewish coalitions being channeled through Aiden Ross and Charleston White, Chud was reinvigorated and ready for round 2, until his second wind was unceremoniously cut short. On the 13th of May, 2026, Chud finally found what he had been looking for. Since December of 2025, he'd been tweeting out things like, "The day one of you make me take your life is the day the white man takes this country back. When I inevitably shoot one of you animals for threatening an American's life for solely exercising his constitutional freedoms, you people love seeing each other die." He even said things like this while on
Bro, don't I tell her this is the best way to cook food? Frying pan, instant pot, grill pot, enlighten us on your preferred ways of cooking. What sense does that question make? Are you gonna grill ice cream on a fucking barbecue? Are you gonna put salad in the oven? Like, it just depends on what the fuck you're cooking or what type of food you like. So I don't know how to answer that fucking question for you. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Stream.
Chud the Builder, known for starting and harassing people. Starting things and instigating and harassing people. Shoots and kills a black man. That's what it's going to say all over the headlines. They're going to say, he was an innocent boy, he didn't do nothing. Pull up, as soon as I see you, bro, shooting your brains out. I'm not sparing another one, because I did it last time. That guy walking up with a gun drawn, should have blew his brains out that night. Live on kick.
Well, Chud practically spoke this into existence, as in this latest incident, he actually ended up shooting someone. As far as I understand, there's no clear footage of the whole thing going down, but there is some audio.
Get him off of me! Get him off of me! I didn't do nothing to him.
And there's also some footage taken from afar of the scuffle between Chud and someone else after it had already begun, but without the lead up. Twitter influencer Lauren Chen claimed that Chud's fiancée alleged there was footage of the incident that's just not released for whatever reason. But in the replies, someone else who said they watched it go down live broke it down as follows. First, Chud walked up to this guy and his girlfriend as they were both at a park bench, and the guy says he was having a bad day. After interacting with his chat for a little bit, Chud walked away and the guy started yelling something, at which point Chud began doing the chimping out routine. According to this dude, after saying "try me" a few times, the guy punched Chud, initiating the scuffle, which concluded in Chud firing 4 or 5 gunshots. There were plenty of pictures and recordings of the immediate aftermath, as well as a video of Chud talking to the cops about it.
Walked past him, he was sitting on the corner. I walked up to him because they were pointing at me. They were laughing, they were pointing at me, and I said, "What's up, guys? How y'all doing?" I said, "Y'all like the new suit?" He said, "Walk away from me." I walked away from him. He came back up to me. He literally said, "I have PTSD. I feel like I'm in." He said, "You start saying all that chimp out shit to me, I'm gonna hit you." He hit me, started wailing on me, even after I had to defend myself by shooting him. He's still wailing on me.
This is where TikToker Paranormal Chris comes in. He had been closely following Chud's case and shared the papers for his arrest, where it showed that he was being charged with attempted murder, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, and employing firearm during dangerous
Red on Tillers, holy crap, I mean, like, what do you do for food prep? I make food and I eat it. Like, I'll have a protein shake and some fruit in the morning. And then at night, I'll make tofu in the air fryer with some, like, rice and broccoli. And I just put the broccoli in the oven. Thanks for that donation, bro.
Felony. All of which put together could get him a sentence anywhere between 15 and 60 years in prison. Obviously, people rarely get the full sentence. What's much more interesting is the fact that Chud's bond was initially set at $1.2 million. This value was clearly shocking to Dalton himself.
I'm gonna set just a bond right now to have our bail hearing. Then I'll let you make all the arguments. We can go through all the factors in the statute and see if that gets amended up or down. Okay? Yes, sir. I'm gonna set initial bond at $1.25 million. based upon the fact of how many people were in the courtyard, were here at the courthouse, and the seriousness of all these felonies and his bond status.
One of the Twitter accounts that was regularly updating people on Chud's case actually went through the average bail amounts for other people who were arrested and charged in the same county, only to find that the closest comparable estimation was a double murder, and even that bond was set at $250,000 cheaper than Chud's. But much crazier than that, the same county had previously given bond amounts over 12 times lower for crimes that are honestly so horrific they shouldn't even be mentioned, so it definitely seemed like they were trying to make an example out of Chud the Builder. He is a public figure after all, and the case has a lot of media attention, not to mention the obvious political angle. A white guy who streams himself calling black people the N-word shoots a black guy. The state was definitely doing its best to keep him behind bars because of how angry people would be if he got out. In the chaos that followed, someone who was friends with Chud and knew him since middle school commented on the situation. I've been trying my best to spend time with him and talk some sense, but he just won't accept advice. I've known bro since middle school, and it breaks my heart to see him like this. We got back in touch when I moved back home and hung out a few times, and once he started streaming, I told him it wasn't going to end well, and he just wouldn't listen. When he started streaming in Nashville, I knew something like this would happen, and I didn't want to see this happen to him, and I tried to talk him out of it and into a rebrand numerous times. There are generally two schools of thought on this issue. The first is that regardless of if Chud was antagonizing people, ultimately it was just words, and as soon as someone punched him, he had the right to respond to the threat. The other school of thought is that he was looking for an excuse to kill someone, and therefore he should have the book thrown at him. And of course, there are other perspectives falling in between. Some feel that while he had a right to defend himself, using a firearm when the other guy just had his fist was over the line. People were widely up in arms about this on Reddit and Twitter, and in their discussions, another question was also being asked. Who exactly was the man Chud shot? So, meet Joshua Fox. There's been a lot of screenshots circulating about him, in particular a few that are allegedly from his Facebook. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I've been hoping to run into the Chud MF, but he don't be on this side of town. But outside of him, I'ma call them a and go about my day.
Thank you for answering that. Goddamn, you're a tough nugget, but I love you. Thanks for that donation, bro.
Trying to get some traction on my end, so when I start my Twitch, I got a little fan base. Oh, he don't bother me. I just want to fight. From there, Chud supporters began looking into Fox's past, digging up what they allege is his criminal record. Based on these posts, it appears that Josh had previously been arrested. On April 18th, 31-year-old Joshua Fox was involved in a domestic incident with his wife. When officers arrived on the scene, they spoke with Joshua, who stated that Mrs. Fox, his wife, would not let him leave, but did not provide any details. Officers then spoke with Mrs. Fox, who stated that Josh was upset because vehicle issues prevented him from leaving. She then stated that Josh had an aerosol can and a lighter and attempted to burn the house down. Mrs. Fox then claimed she tried to take the can away from Josh, but they both fell to the ground. Mrs. Fox said that Joshua then grabbed a screwdriver and held it to her side, which made her back away from him. Officers found the aerosol can and screwdriver described by Mrs. Fox. Officers deemed Joshua to be the primary aggressor, and he was taken into custody for aggravated domestic assault. This description was posted to the Clarksville Today Facebook, and in the replies, we can see the account Joshua loves saying, "And I'll do it again." Once again, there are two schools of thought on these claims. One being that Josh is a violent person, and this would have happened sooner or later, and that Chud acted in self-defense. The other philosophy, so to speak, is that no matter his record, Chud was still out of line in shooting him. What we know for sure is that Josh's wife created a GoFundMe account in his support, although the ownership of the page has now been transferred, seemingly to his mom. The original goal was $10,000, but they moved it way up once the money started coming in, now standing at $270,000 in donations. I'm no lawyer, but from what I understand, legally this case will probably come down to who actually committed the first illegal acts toward one another. As far as the bond situation, the two main developments that are still currently ongoing are motions to reduce the bond amount from Chud's defense team, while the district attorney is trying to block it from being paid by his Gifts and Go money. Due to a ton of public support on Twitter, online casino Duel has been trying to pay the bond in full. However, if the DA was successful, then this money would probably be blocked too. Duel themselves have received a lot of backlash for sponsoring people like Gypsy Crusader, and overall just hosting a lot of very edgy content on their site. Finally, there was a brief conversation about Aiden Ross potentially stepping in, but he ultimately turned it down.
Can you bet on Chud, the Chud guy? What's his name again? Yo! Holy shit. So he is on here. Can you pay his bail? Imagine the clips, dude. No.
Besides the case itself, this situation was also commented on by many of Chud's contemporaries, including Nick Fuentes.
I say send him to jail. I don't think what he did was defensible. Yeah, at a certain point, if you're running around with a gun antagonizing people and then you shoot somebody, it's one thing if somebody attacks you for no reason and you shoot them. It's another thing if it's like, here I am with my live stream where I provoke confrontations. I hope I don't have to kill anybody today. I wish that he could just reform and, they give him a slap on the wrist and he doesn't do anything again, but that's just, that was going to happen no matter what.
You can see how much this situation had people debating amongst themselves. On the internet, the last thing Chud had said about Nick Fuentes was calling him his limp-wristed lil bro, who was just going to be a news anchor while Chud went on to be the president. I find that reality unlikely, but you never know. And debate wasn't the only thing coming from Chud's arrest. Some people took the opportunity to celebrate it and mock him, like Trev. Others have gone through Chud's VODs to find the variety of clips of Chud either donating to or having positive interactions with black people, with their point basically being that he's not actually a super racist, evil guy. Meanwhile, his lawyers made a statement on Facebook explaining that regardless of Chud's infamy, he deserves to have a fair trial and for the Constitution and the law to be respected. In the next hearing, which was briefly interrupted by right-wing agitators Jake Lang and Anthony Vo, who tried to make a scene and then got thrown out of court, Chud's bond was reduced to $1 million. They left open the possibility that one of the donors could pay it and stated that while out on bail, the conditions were that he had to wear a GPS monitor, a gag order to prevent him from saying anything about his case, as well as the surrender of all of his firearms and his passport. There were also some other findings, and although they're not super significant as far as the outcome of the case, it's still interesting to go through. In his house, Chud apparently had weed, a rifle, a shotgun, ammo, body armor, and a flight ticket to Turkey for May 22nd. These were all bought prior to the incident. Additionally, according to an investigator who testified upon seeing surveillance footage of the incident, Chud was walking away and had his back turned to Joshua when Josh ran up on him and put him in a headlock, and then Chud pulls out his gun and starts shooting. There were a total of 7 7 shots, up to 4 of which actually hit Josh, and 1 of which grazed Chud himself. The case is currently ongoing, and I'm sure it's going to stay that way for a while, given that both sides of this legal battle have funding and seem to look forward to the trial. As of right now, we can't really guess what the outcome will be, but one thing is for certain. Despite how absurd and unusual this situation is, this kind of stuff is becoming increasingly common. While it's still relatively rare, it seems like over the last few years, there have been a lot of people who get big off of being provocative and wilding out on stream. And given that society in general is also becoming increasingly political, it's only natural that there'd be a crossover between these two kinds of content eventually. The only problem is, when they do cross over, things go from 0 to 100 extremely fast. And I'm not sure anyone is ready for the kind of chaos that can come as a consequence.
Yeah, it probably wasn't a good idea for him to do this shit. Pretty stupid. Found the $200,000 missing Lego. 54 minutes. Brockle Liddy donated $2. Have you ever tried Olympic lifting, and thoughts on that? Also, best power clean. I've never done Olympic lifting. I only had a very narrow opportunity to do like any real Olympic lifts. I had my knee surgery when I was in high school. I think I was like 16 or something at the time. After that, I just don't have enough mobility in my knee to do any of the Olympic lifts. I can't bend my knee far enough. I've also never practiced power cleans. I was actually going to try to practice power cleans after I met up with Clarence, but I ended up getting carpal tunnel soon after that. I could try starting now. I don't have carpal tunnel anymore, but yeah, I just haven't done them. Thanks for the donation, Broccoli.
$1,000 Lego collection went missing, causing a lot of you to ask me to find it. And after seeing the cops point guns at YouTubers, people get arrested and sued for $1.3 million, I decided enough was enough. This looks like a case for the internet detective, this time in the $10 million Lego studio. So I talked to every suspect involved. What I found shocked me. Okay, before we can find these missing Legos, let's give some background. A massive Star Wars collection was put on consignment at a Lego store called Bricks and Minifigs in Salem, Oregon. Consignment just...
Oh, gummy. Oh. Hey there, Gum Gum. That's a good baby. You're so big and fuzzy. You know that? Yeah, I love you. Oh. I've got to go take a piss. I'll be right back. And then we'll watch more of this and then maybe play games after. But I'll be right back. Oh, hello there. Silly kitty. This is a cat. Yeah, that's a good cat. Yeah. Would you play Street Fighter 6? If so, who's your character select? Well, I was playing it for a bit. I didn't like some of the updates. They nerfed Chun-Li, who is my main, and then I just didn't have an interest in playing. Thanks for the donation, E-Honda.
Just means the owner, Brian Mansell, gave it to a store to sell, and he was supposed to get a cut when it sold. The entire time, he maintained ownership of the collection, and a social media post estimated it to be worth about $200,000. But then, on November 14th, 2024, everything went wrong. This was the night that Crystal and Ben Gorman, the prior franchise owners of the Salem store, got kicked out by this guy. That is Brandon Best. He and his partner, Josh Johnson, ran a sister store in Eugene, Oregon, and Brandon drove up that night to kick the Gormans out. Brandon and Josh would be taking over the franchise in Salem. And this is the exact moment the Legos go missing. As that store is getting handed over, the question is Brian's collection in it? Here's what the official Bricks and Minifigs press release reads. Quote, after taking over the store, we discovered a small number of sets valued between $2,000 to $5,000 that could be possibly related to Mr. Mansell's collection. But there's a problem here. There should be over 10 times that amount in this store, given their internal records and what we know the estimated value of this collection was. So if corporate's saying there was only $2,000 to $5,000 in the store, something happened to these Legos. But what? In order to solve this case, let's think about the suspects. First, who was there that night of the handover? It's only 3 people. Crystal and Ben Gorman, the former franchise owners, and Brandon Best, one of the new owners. These are our 3 biggest suspects, but they aren't the only ones. I want to address a few other suspects at the very start here. First of all, maybe this is just all the result of, plain old thieves breaking in. What about that possibility?
Hi, I am Chris. I was the previous franchise owner who signed the collection agreement with Brian Mansell.
And I'm Benjamin Gorman. I am the silent partner who's really bad at being silent.
We did have a couple of break-ins at the store. None of Brian's collections were in the police report or stolen during those.
Okay, so the Gormans say emphatically it wasn't thieves, but if that's the case, what about the guy who was arrested? I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Reckless Ben. This is the YouTuber who started it all. With a documentary, I tracked down the thief who stole $200,000 of Lego. Maybe it's the perfect crime. Make a video tracking yourself. Now, for our theory, it's worth noting Ben is currently facing a RICO lawsuit by Bricks and Minifigs. He was even targeted with a search warrant for stolen Legos.
Included in the warrant are Legos. The owner reported overhearing conversations about possible stolen Legos.
And on top of that, Reckless Ben was even accused of stealing the Legos by the current franchise owner.
I stole the Legos?
What do you think of the theory that it was Reckless Ben? He stole the Legos.
It's absurd. We didn't even know Reckless Ben. He had no interaction, no relation to us, no relation to the store. That doesn't hold any water.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Apologies to the genius cops in Utah who play different.
We play differently here.
But I don't believe that Reckless Ben stole the Lego, mostly because he couldn't. He just wasn't there that night, and I don't even think he knew about these Legos. But who does Ben suspect is holding the Legos since he did this whole documentary series?
The guy who runs the entire company, Ammon McNeff, he personally came out to talk to us.
So what's going on?
So you guys are holding some of our Legos?
No, we're not.
You're not?
No.
Is that a lie?
No.
That's a lie. You did take the Legos.
No. So we have, our attorneys have visited, so who's like
Brian Mansell.
Okay, and who's that?
He's a guy who had like $200,000 worth of Legos in your guys' store.
No, never happened.
My name is Ammon McNeff. I am the CEO of the Bricks and Minifigs brand.
So my name's Matt McNeff. I'm the COO of Bricks and Minifigs.
The people you just saw are the McNeff brothers. They agreed to speak with me to try to clear their name. I asked them, do they have the Legos?
What I can tell you is that we don't have it. We've never had access to them.
It seems to kind of go missing. Parts of it seem to go missing on November 14th.
Well, and I guess no, not at all. I'm going to say, that is not accurate at all. Because
so you think that the collection was in the store at the time or elsewhere?
Elsewhere. When you look at Mansell's own words that he reiterated to a podcast last year, he explicitly stated to another podcaster, the sets were moved off-site for security.
The collection will not be stored on-site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere.
Now, one thing that's been a big subject of the Bricks and Minifigs kind of story is, hey, there are these off-site locations. Can you address what that is? Is that true?
So the offsite location and the letter that that corporate is referring to is the original press release that we released when we were launching the collection. In that press release, because we had previous break-ins, I specifically included the location that after this weekend, those Legos would be stored off-site to deter any future thefts. They were briefly stored off-site after that launch weekend while I bought safes for the back room, and then they were moved back into the store.
Oh, okay, so for most of the time, the sets were in the store after y'all got the safes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so Ammon McNeff suspects that a lot of the Legos weren't...
It's actually really cool that he got everybody involved in on this whole discussion.
There that night. And then on the other hand, we just heard from Crystal and Ben Gorman explaining the offsite story, saying that later they no longer use those offsite locations. But what do we really know about the Gormans? They are the former franchise owners after all. I mean, shouldn't we be suspicious of everyone? They're one of our key suspects. They were there the night we lost Brian's collection. They were the creators of the consignment deal after all. And one group in particular is pointing their finger at them very hard. It's the McNeffs, who say they were behind on payments.
We started getting calls from the landlord letting us know that Crystal was behind on the lease payments at the location. We had also gotten a couple of notices from some of our vendor partners that bills had not been paid by the store, and so we felt pretty strongly that there was going to be a risk of her just, like attempting to file bankruptcy, doing some of these other types of things which we've had franchisees do in the past, and that's problematic. So that's why we sent him up there to take some video footage. So we needed to just be prepared if we need to do a hostile takeover, which can happen in franchising, where a franchise owner just kind of tries to steal inventory and do some different things that way.
Okay, so Bricks and Minifig's story is that they were worried about the Gormans skipping town, so they sent Brandon Best as a secret shopper on October 24, 2024. This is weeks before the takeover. Brandon takes a video of the store condition in preparation for this handover, but at this point, Brandon does not announce himself to Crystal Gorman. Later, though, on November 14th, once again, the same concern about the Gormans stealing or theft was expressed by the McNeffs.
Brandon was trying to make sure that they weren't taking things from the store, and so he was kind of trying to make sure that he wasn't putting things, like hiding things in the back, and that he, while he was watching that, trying to make sure Ben wasn't grabbing stuff from the store and moving or doing anything along those lines, because he just got a weird feeling about the whole transition.
She took at least one, if not more than one, cartfuls of things out to her car with her coat draped over it.
So yeah, the McNeffs say, look, they don't trust the Gormans. And they explained it, even further. They said, hey, there's some issues in her past.
She apparently has a retail theft and other criminal arrests on her record that we were not aware of.
When was that?
I don't know. This has been brought out by several people online now.
Now look, that's a huge accusation to bring up, and so obviously I wanted to talk to the Gormans about it. They're like, she has a history of some type of burglary, theft.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Wow. Oh. Well, yes.
Well,
you know about this.
Explain.
Yeah, when I was 19 years old.
How long ago was that?
I am 45 now. So this was in 1999. This, something that happened 25 years ago, has no reflection and no bearing on what happened in the last 2 years, my management of the store, what happened the night corporate seized this.
Greenleaf, Tony Teller's thoughts on peptides such as Retta or the Wolverine stack, BBC and such. Well, Retta works and it's proven to work. The Wolverine stack is multiple peptides. I've had good experience with BP or TB500. There's more evidence supporting the efficacy of TB500. There is some human research in BPC. It's not that much. There's a fair bit of animal research that's pretty promising. I've used BPC. I don't think it works very fast. The main methods that it seems to work is 1, reducing inflammation, and 2, causing, what is it? It's when you produce new blood vessels. What's the technical term? It's Jesus Christ. So I think BPC probably works. It just takes a longer period of time to really notice measurable improvement. A lot of people also don't use it particularly well. It works best when you inject directly at the site of, injury. And it works better if you inject multiple times per day. Most people don't use it that way. They inject it once in their stomach region or something, and not multiple times per day, not at the area of injury. So that's my basic thoughts. Thanks for the donation though, Greenleaf.
Store, it is another deflection, and it infuriates me. You're gonna try to publicly embarrass and shame me for somebody that
Frank just dropped another short 30 minutes ago. Oh my god. Why? Okay.
I've been trying to expose Ice Cream for Bears for months now about lying about the quality of their product, but since they're owned by corporate billionaires, they're already censoring and shadow banning anyone who speaks out against them. And
None of that makes any sense.
their ingredient list does not indicate any quality. It would have to be USDA organic or say 100% grass-fed. The mark
That does not have anything to do with the quality of the product. That just involves the type of product.
marketing they use warrants no ingredient quality. Grass-fed means nothing from a legal marketing perspective. It could be the same milk that goes into any other ice cream. It would have to say 100% grass-fed and grass-finished or organic. And the other ingredients they use, cream, raw honey, skim milk, egg yolk, natural flavors, all feedlot.
You can get milk from a very fucking sick, diseased animal that's fed 100% grass-fed organic. Or you could get milk from an animal that's very healthy, well-kept, and they're not grass-fed. Like the grass-fed organic has nothing to do with quality.
Slop. Raw honey would have to be unheated honey because 120 degrees is still legally raw.
Yeah, angiogenesis. That's what I was thinking.
Skim milk, obviously not grass-fed. The cream, they're not saying they use grass-fed cream or organic cream. And I promise you, they are not buying 100% grass.
Erythropoiesis is when you make new red blood cells, not blood vessels.
Grass-fed cream from a local farm at the price they are charging for this. Egg yolk, not corn and soy-free or pasture-raised. Natural. This is feedlot slop. It's barely, if not any better than the other ice cream ingredients on the shelf. The only reason it would be better is if there's any chemicals or flavors. Inherently, the ingredient quality is not any different from Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's. They just don't add chemicals to it. So it's really unfortunate. And another thing to note, made on shared equipment that also processes peanuts and tree nuts. In this other video they posted willingly proves they're using heavy industrial equipment. The downsides being harsh chemical bleach cleaners and caustic acids used, because these aren't like organic manufacturers, they don't care. Plus the heating and mixing and required like FDA processes that are associated with that like super high volume of product. There's a lot of things you don't want them doing with your food. I've made videos about this, small batch production being better. So when people complain about the flavor of ice cream for bears, it could be the beginning of the batch, it could be the whole batch that's contaminated with these chemicals. And they only say raw honey is an ingredient. They're not saying that raw honey is in the final product. And in this level of
What? How can it be an ingredient but not be in the final product?
production, they are extensively heating and mixing everything before it is put through all these crazy machines. So, shouldn't be buying this product. I promise you it's not any healthier than anything else on the shelf.
Buddy, it's fucking ice cream.
Organic would be better. Any organic ice cream would be higher quality than this, undisputably. Or just go to Frankie's.
Yeah, organic does not make food any safer. In fact, there's indication it makes it more dangerous in some cases. Well, that's nice and stupid.
Next question here is from Cooper P. Cooper asks, are there any major downsides from adding 10 milligrams of Trinase daily, 70 milligrams per week, to a bulking cycle of 700 milligrams of Test, 700 milligrams of Prima? Specifically, would such a low dose provide worthwhile nutrient partitioning benefits without significant side effects? The answer is maybe. There is an argument to be made that Tren is going to increase nutrient partitioning at the lower doses. It's going to give you a better overall look. I know plenty of guys that run in an off-season setting. They say that really the side effects, the anecdote that I've heard, that it doesn't have the same nasty side effects when you're in a caloric surplus as it does when you're in a deficit. Maybe it, I'm just speculating here. This is just total bro science. Maybe it has something to do with dopamine. Dopamine be affected by being a caloric deficit and you just being fucking cranky to begin with. But sure, man. And here's the thing with Tren. This is the bizarre thing. Tren doesn't really trash blood work that much. The main issue with Tren that people run into, and I'm not saying I would run it 365 days a year. I think you're fucking crazy if you do that. The main thing that I see is the problem with Tren is the psychological side effects and the lack of sleep. And it seems like eventually the people that run Tren nonstop.
Yeah, Frank has done injections into his lips. That's why they look fucked.
You've seen them on social media. They end up getting fucking super paranoid and really goddamn weird, man. Like weird. It does 19 Norse synthetic progestins do weird shit to your brain. The guys that run, you know, I used to see it back in the day, the guys that would run the DECA-only cycles, they would end up getting super paranoid, really weird.
That was manipulated by local police departments when she was pregnant and 19 years old. Fuck you. That's my response to that. I am so sorry. You're going to have to blur and cut a lot of this, but that pisses me off. I own what I have done. I own the mistakes that I've made. You cannot intimidate and bully me into backing down when I know that legally and morally I am in the right and I have the evidence to back it up.
Wow, this is getting kind of nasty and personal at this point, and I just wanted to give people kind of their side. But at every turn, I hope you understand, I'm getting contradictory stories, down to if the McNeffs knew about her history in the first place.
Like, they're bringing up something that I told them about.
Wait, you told them?
Told them. They asked me.
They said they had no idea. They said if we knew, we would have never hired her.
Because we would not have hired her had we known this.
I told them I had a record from when I was 18. There was a family issue that, and didn't go into all of the details, but they were like, that's so long ago, we're gonna hire you based on who you are now.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. You guys can make up your own mind. My point is, one side says up, the other says down, and it gets to the point both sides start hinting that they have photographic proof from the night of November 14th that proves the other side is lying. And so I'm like, look, at this point, let's stop talking. Show me the Legos.
Where I was told we are 100% have possession of photos that prove that the Gormans are lying, and then you guys are telling me we 100% have possession of photos that prove this side's lying. Who's gonna drop the photos first? I mean, I feel like someone just has to, somebody's right here.
And after a lot of convincing, both sides agreed to show me the photos, corporate and the Gormans. In fact, I scheduled the calls to do this an hour apart from each other. But let's remember their positions for a second. The Gormans say whatever was left unsold of Brian's collection that was in that store spreadsheet was in Salem store the night of November 14th. Then you have corporate side. They say whatever was left that night was maybe $2,000 to $5,000 of Legos. The rest was either
Teriyaki, Donny Tellers, have you ever looked into FaceGenX mid-face expander? No. It's probably stupid. I got my teeth straightened with braces. How has your dental work experience been? I've only had to ever get cavities filled. I've never had braces. All these, like facial expander things, Invisalign, crap like that, they're essentially scam products. There's not really any rigorous testing done on any of these products. In some cases, absolutely zero. I know one of them, the guy's actually like fled the country, and he has like a class action lawsuit against him in the United States. There was some like fucked up, might have been Marpy or something, but a lot of these medical devices, they don't go through rigorous testing. There's a reason why if you actually go to a dentist or an orthodontist, like they recommend braces, it's because they have the most amount of evidence behind them. They've gone through rigorous testing. If you hear about some like random new product, it just doesn't have the testing, sometimes none at all. And you can look into some of the studies done on these products and case reports, like Invisalign. There's actually a high risk of causing your teeth to break, and it has to do with how it applies pressure to your teeth differently from braces. And there's like not many people are good candidates for Invisalign and stuff, so like just don't, like, it's stupid. Go to like an actual fucking doctor or dentist. If they're not recommending these products and there's no real evidence behind them, then why would you do it? Thanks for that donation, dude.
Either stolen by thieves, the Gormans, or held off-site. It was not in that store. And on both sides, there's a lot to lose here, right? You've got the Gormans, who basically have been insinuated to have been stealing. And for Josh and Brandon, too, the new franchise owners, there's a lot on the line. I reached out to Josh, and he told me, I think her pictures would only show a few sets and minifigs. I replied, so if I can prove that the Lego sets were in the store, that will prove Brandon was lying? Josh replies, if it shows something different, then yes, I will eat my words. So the stakes have been established. And let's see the evidence, starting with Matt McNeff. First, he showed me the video, October 24, 2024, for a baseline of how the store looked.
So this is the Salem Kaiser location, is that correct?
Salem Kaiser location, yes.
So is it fair to say I'm seeing quite a few Legos here? I mean, I'm seeing a store of Legos. You'd agree?
There's a good amount of Lego on hand. This isn't what I would say is a well-stocked bricks and minifigs, but it's not terrible. It's I would say a little below average as far as overall stock. So now let's go to November 14th. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So November 14th. When Brandon was in there.
Wait, this is the day. This is like the big day.
This is the day.
Hold on, I gotta prep myself emotionally for this.
Okay.
This is a big deal. This is D-Day. This is the big moment. This is Brandon takes over the store. We don't know where the Legos are after this moment.
We don't know where the Legos are after this moment. And I want to point out again that we've had this for a while. We haven't put. This is the first time we've shown this publicly. We've been waiting for our attorneys to give us the approval to say, hey, this is okay now to share in this capacity. So we'll go through these pictures. This is what Josh saw, or not Josh, sorry, Brandon saw. He took pictures of everything in the store, all the inventory in the store. This is what the shelves look like compared to what you just saw a moment ago.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot less. Just to state the obvious, go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like way less.
So yeah, the pictures I was being shown on November 14th, those shelves look emptier than they did on the day of October 24th. But to be fair to the Gormans, they addressed the empty shelves themselves.
As we get to the very end of this video in particular, right here, you'll see that empty space right here. So this is the retired and certified set section that we have to keep separate from the new in-box current sets being sold by Lego. All those empty spaces up there were the sets that we had on display during the day from Brian's collection that every night when the store closed, we pulled off and put back into the safe and then put back out in the morning.
So when they say, see, there's empty space on the shelves, yeah, because we put them in safes at night to keep them safe.
Because we have giant windows.
Yeah, it's an explanation that kind of makes sense given the history of burglary. Now, of course, this is something I had to ask the McNeffs about.
Is this a case of, did y'all see Star Wars sets in the back? Did y'all not see the Star Wars sets in the back? Did he take, not in the back, but specifically in a safe?
Pip pap dip tap pat tap tip.
No.
Like there were a bunch of Star Wars sets in a safe. Did Brandon see those? Has there been talk of those? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. My understanding is that he took pictures of everything, and all those photos I showed you of the Star Wars were all the photos, or was literally all the Star Wars inventory in the store.
Yeah, the McNeffs say all of the photos should be with Brandon of all the Star Wars items. And to be fair to them, they showed me a lot more pictures and even showed me a spreadsheet of all the Star Wars sets in the store the night Brandon took it over. And it valued to about like $5,000 to $10,000 or so. But then I had to ask.
Sorry, here's another kind of set.
Okay.
Do you think y'all have all of these?
Very likely.
Okay.
Again, I'd be surprised if we didn't.
But then I couldn't help myself. I started to bring up some of Crystal's photos to see if they matched up.
Have you seen this before?
Not that I recall.
So, do you see that?
Yep.
So do you see it's in like some kind of like a safe thing? I don't know if you can see the sides there.
Looks like a bookshelf to me, but sure.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I think the important thing is making sure that all of these are in the inventory for Mansell.
Sure.
That looks like a safe.
Sure, that's cool.
75041?
Yep. The Vulture Droid.
75169?
169 I'm not seeing, so there may be, okay. So there's one that is not on our list.
Let's try this. 10240?
Okay, nope, not seeing that one either.
What about 9493?
I don't see that one either. So maybe those were locked at the time, and Brandon did not get those pictures.
All right, that's kind of a problem because the Gormans had over 200 photos of this store. I definitely knew looking at these photos, there's a lot more Legos in the Gormans photos.
DBZ, Donny Tillers, have you ever watched the OG Dragon Ball Z series and whole favorite character? Yes. Favorite character would be Vegeta. Thanks for that donation, dude.
A lot that Brandon's photos just didn't show, but corporate didn't really see it that way.
But still, in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking, again, 10 times the amount of sets here.
I don't know. I haven't shown all the photos yet. I don't know exactly how much.
If there's a calculable figure that we can look at and say, great, this is what was there, I promise you, it's not $100,000 worth of Lego. And so where's the rest of it? You got me. I don't know.
Maybe I'm a little too in my head about this U-Haul story. You don't think it could have been some U-Haul thing? There's no way.
Oh, yeah, have we talked about the U-Haul yet? We gotta talk about the U-Haul for a second. This is another one of those things that was like really disputed between the two parties, was this U-Haul that supposedly was driven.
Whatever. That one's fine.
dip dap pat fat durian rider tap clip clap jap nap pat fip fap pat fat.
Driven up to the store the night of the takeover.
So when Brandon came to the store that night, he was driving a U-Haul truck.
Now, in typical fashion, this was immediately disputed.
Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car.
If Legos aren't vegan because they use animal fat stearic acid, then that would mean fruits and vegetables aren't vegan because they're usually sprayed with waxes and protective coatings that have animal fat stearic acid. So nobody fucking cares.
Car, not in a U-Haul.
It wasn't until after he told me he was taking the keys and locking me out that I really kind of paid attention to the fact that he had a large, not the small, the large U-Haul truck.
So yeah, I just kept hearing about this U-Haul truck. Now, why is it significant, U-Haul or not? Well, one, a U-Haul truck can fit a lot of Legos, but the big reason it mattered to me was because I was actually called by an ex-employee of the Bricks and Minifix store in Eugene, Oregon. Remember, that's the one that Brandon and Josh owned, and he told me something very interesting.
I'm a former employee, started in 2024, and I was working under the old manager Brian, and we sold the store to Brandon and Josh.
What store was this? Bricks and Minifigs where? Okay, now what did you see that made you want to talk to me?
I saw Breakfast Ben's YouTube video about Salem store closing down because I was talking to my co-workers about the situation about Salem, and we were told through other employees that it was just a bad area to work in. It was like.
Bro, didn't tell us why was Vegeta your favorite character though? Going up, nothing competes with Sans pride. He would like win and like he'd just work harder and he became Super Saiyan just because he wanted it. Whereas Goku, like it was like some weird emotional thing and he had to do it because like, you know, he had to save everybody. It was like, you know, very adverse circumstances that kind of pushed him there. Vegeta could just force himself, like, to do it, like, just through sheer effort and willpower. That's why. Thanks for the donation, though, bro.
Haunted, if you will, is what was going around. But after seeing the video of Breakfast Ben, he exposed them, and it makes a lot more sense with what we dealt with Brandon and Josh. Like, all Crystal stole Lego sets and bolted out of the country.
Who says that?
Brandon Best told us. When he was jumping off all the Lego sets to us that night. He used, like, there was a bunch of used Lego sets. That's how I saran wrap. They had Star Wars CD. They used a lot of stuff. It was like a medium-sized U-Haul truck.
Wait, they brought a U-Haul truck.
Yeah, from Salem to Eugene.
And to Eugene, and it had a bunch of Star Wars sets on it?
Yeah, Star Wars sets and everything. They used a bunch of used stuff too.
Wait, when was this when they took over the store from Crystal?
I believe so, yes. Yes, because he said that Crystal stole Legos and left the country.
While he has a U-Haul of Legos?
Yeah.
Interesting. Weird.
And he's like, we're just going to hold on to this stuff until corporate tells us where we have to distribute it. And we're like, it would make more sense if we could take it because we're kind of struggling with, you know, the product that's on the shelves.
Oh my gosh. We really got to find out. Was there a U-Haul that night or not? Because everybody's disagreeing about it. This Eugene, Oregon guy says, oh yeah, a U-Haul showed up with Star Wars sets in it. Brandon was talking about the Salem store. You got Matt McNeff saying there was no U-Haul there. It was a rental car. You've got Crystal saying, yeah, I thought it was really weird. There was a U-Haul truck there. So I told the McNeffs, you know, I really got to find out what the truth is here.
If you know anything about it, let me know, because that's just something I heard.
I do, and it has nothing to do with the Salem store. Well, at least not the Salem store in the way that it is there. Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
So when there was the handoff, there wasn't a U-Haul, it was a rental car.
Correct. He was there in a rental car.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think any of the, like, if you were to look at the footage, the ring cameras, all that stuff, you won't see a U-Haul sitting anywhere in the parking lot.
So after hearing all of this, I realized, look, I just got to find the evidence. So I start sifting through these photos I have, right? I realize I have a parking lot photo. I check it. No U-Haul, just a red truck out there. I check another photo where you can see the window, but the problem is it's night outside, so you can't see. And so I'm looking at everything I can, and there's just nothing, you know? I have this alternate angle. I'm looking at that, and then, wait a minute.
There's
Zoom in on that
U-Haul.
photo. Bring up the brightness of this photo a little bit, and my gosh, there's a U-Haul in the parking lot right outside of the store the night of November 14th, 2024. This is something that Matt said he had seen footage of, and it couldn't be true.
And again, I believe I've seen footage from that night that shows clearly out into the parking lot, and there's no U-Haul.
After seeing this, I said, I really have to make a call. And that's when the story changed.
So last night, I talked with Matt McNeff. I brought up this question of the U-Haul. He told me emphatically there was no U-Haul. Y'all came to me this morning. You said, hey, we looked into it. There actually was a U-Haul there that night. Can you clear up what that's about?
So there's actually two different things that are going on here, just to help you understand. So and I don't know if you want this particularly not on the record, but we do know of a disgruntled former employee that worked at another location, that back on the 24th of October, there was a U-Haul that went to a storage unit in Salem for another previous franchisee, like for a different situation that we had just gone through some things, and he had a previously, like, hey, I have some inventory that I didn't turn over that I was supposed to. It's at this storage location. You guys can come pick it up. And so Brandon was sent on that day to pick up with a U-Haul inventory that then he moved down, but that was October 24th.
So when we're talking about this ex-employee, you're saying they are conflating the October 24th event of the U-Haul coming up to Eugene with Legos with sometime after November 14th, after the store takeover. Is that correct? Am I understanding that?
Yes.
So this is now kind of a strange story. Corporate is saying there was a U-Haul at the Eugene store dropping off Lego, but that was from a different night, different collection. The CEO says Brandon showed up to Salem on October 24th for his secret shopper job with Crystal, and separately, he also was getting a different collection of Legos that also included Star Wars, and that's what he brought to the Eugene store and the former employee is remembering. Then, weeks later, on November 14th, Brandon supposedly shows up again with a U-Haul, but the reason isn't for hauling Legos.
Brandon flew in to Eugene that night, at midnight, so flew from Utah on the 13th, but landed in Oregon on midnight of the 14th. Went and got a rental truck, and then went and stayed at a trailer that had previously been moved up there in anticipation, meaning a camper trailer, in anticipation of the potential hostile takeover previously.
Is that why he had a U-Haul? Is that the reason he had a U-Haul, was for this camper, or what's going on with the?
Yes. So then what happens is he takes his rental vehicle truck and he tries to connect the trailer, the camping trailer, to that truck, and it's not rated for that particular weight, and he realized, oh crap. He called around and found that U-Haul had a rating for.
Jacked, donate $2. Can you give us a rundown on the current supplements you like to take? Also, do you take beetroot for vascularity benefits? Give us the sauce. I take creatine, multivitamin, selenium, zinc, omega-3s, vitamin D. That's really it. Right now I'm on 600 milligrams test, 105 milligrams Boldenone a week. And no, I don't take beetroot. Thanks for the donation, Jack.
One of their box trucks. And so he grabbed that, went and got it at 10 a.m. on the 14th. And so he then went and hooked that trailer up to the camping trailer, to a U-Haul, drove that trailer down to another location where he could set up the camping trailer in Salem, dropped out the camper trailer, and then he arrived in a U-Haul to the Salem store. And then went in, said hi to Crystal, and then as she was leaving, the door shuts, and so he locks it, calls the locksmith, takes him a while to finish up the changing of the locks. Brandon at this point is pretty exhausted, so and he has an hour drive back to Eugene to drop off the rental truck. So he drops it off at midnight or 1 o'clock, something like that, grabs the rental truck, and then heads back up to the camper trailer in Salem, and then it probably gets in at around 2 or 3 in the morning. Spends a couple of, gets that's a little bit of sleep before he has to head back to the store at 9 a.m. before the other employees get there. The timeline that is trying to be portrayed just makes absolutely zero sense.
Okay, so I asked, obviously, for documentation of all of this from Brandon, and here's what I got. First, the U-Haul contract on November 14th. This checks out what we already know. Then I got sent a photo, the last one Brandon took in the Salem store, dated 9:44 p.m., where you can see what looks like the inside of a birdcage that the Gormans had. And lastly, I was sent a photo Brandon took of the mileage in the U-Haul as he dropped it back off at the rental place on November 15th, 12:41 a.m. Now, the time gap there is about 3 hours between the last photo in Salem to dropping the U-Haul off, which is a bit of a problem for our timeline.
Yeah, it took like 4 hours. I mean, I worked till like 11 o'clock, I got up early for my other job.
You moved 4 hours of Legos out of this truck.
Yeah.
All right, so as weird as this U-Haul thing is, the timeline just doesn't fit, to be honest. If it took 4 hours to unload, you can't also drive to another city, load and unload and drop off the U-Haul in that time. But still, even if this is true, it's pretty weird, and it's one of the most bizarre stories I've ever heard, to have a U-Haul thing back to back. One of the times you're picking up Legos, the other time you're not, you're taking a camper. Nevertheless, without more proof, we kind of have to move on to another theory of how to find these missing Lego. This time, let's take the photographs that we have and reconstruct what was in the night on November 14th. Remember, that's the moment we lost the Lego. And this time, we're going to combine it with 2 more things. First, from corporate, I got the point of sale records from the Salem store from 2023 and 2024. And secondly, from Crystal Gorman, I got her internal records of Brian's inventory, of what was sold or not, in order to pay him and keep track of prices. Now, before we piece things together, I need to address something. At the beginning of the story, you saw the social post saying this collection was worth $200,000. That's what everyone knows this story as, the $200,000 Lego collection. But sadly, that post was entirely wrong. In Crystal Gorman's inventory, which has a high and low estimate value of these various Lego items, the real estimated value is about $107,000. They give high estimates and low estimates, but that's right there in the middle. And for simplicity, I'll just be using averages and estimates here, but understand that, these numbers are not firm, given that they're unsold Legos. It's just rough possibilities. But the point is, it's worth nowhere near $200,000. And Reckless Ben, the one who made the original video covering this, said that surprised him.
Yeah, I mean, this entire time, literally every single person has been telling me there were $200,000. Like, that's how much, like, you could sell all these sets for.
My original assessment of about $200,000 was going up to his father's house and looking in 3 different rooms with all the sets. It was before I'd actually gone through and had set numbers and done an actual like evaluation. I looked at it and went based on as things progressed, and as I started to delve more into the actual inventory and evaluating it, that number changed. But we put out the press release well in advance of the event itself, so that press release went out before I had those full numbers. So we went, this is a nice even number that will grab attention and bring people into the store, so we went with that.
And yeah, I mean, to believe that is accurate at the high end. Like, it was one of those things where when she was looking through and going, well, it says this and it says this, like, you don't think even at the high end?
You haven't actually seen the spreadsheet.
No, I haven't.
You might want to cut that part out because he hasn't actually seen the inventory sheet.
The spreadsheet says about from between 85,000 to 120 something thousand, in the midpoint about 107 or something like that of what was inventory. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has been a really big point of misinformation to clear up, because if we're ever going to find the missing Lego, we need to start with the right number, the right value. It's about $107,000. Now, between 2023 and 2024, the Gormans record sales of about $24,000 of Brian's collection in their inventory tracking list. And of those sales, Brian was entitled to about 65 to 70% of it. He was paid $17,000, which roughly tracks with that. Which means on November 14th...
Coffee, don't need to tell us thoughts on caffeine, how it affects performance, sleep, mental health, how many milligrams do you consume? Thanks. It gives you energy. It's clearly beneficial for mental health. Seems to reduce risk of depression and suicide. If you have it too close before bed, it affects sleep. I don't know how many milligrams I consume. I just drink more coffee if I want more energy. I kind of moved away from energy drinks. I think they were affecting my sleep. But I'll drink a cup of coffee in the morning. If I'm kind of getting tired midday, I'll have another cup of coffee. Thanks for the donation, Coffee.
14th, the big night. The remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000. Now, it doesn't take a genius to realize this is a very different number than corporate provided, who found only $2,000 to $5,000 of it linked to Brian. And later they said they only found $13,000 to $15,000 in total Lego Star Wars.
So you're talking maybe $11,000 to $15,000 total Star Wars, and that's all Star Wars inventory in the whole store.
So that's corporate side of the story, but I didn't want to take their word for it. So I went through Crystal's photos myself, which she shared with me, and hired people to go through and hand tag the Star Wars Legos that were in these photos. We looked through over 200 plus photos, multiple videos, and matched what we saw with Brian's collection. In the end, I ended up with about $21,000 of Legos matching Brian's collection that can be proven to be in the store on the night of November 14th. Now, to state the obvious, that's about 3 to 5 times what corporate estimated, at least on their press release. Now, yes, there are inherent errors in these estimates. Maybe we picked up some Lego that matched Brian's collection, but wasn't Brian's. But even though this is a bigger number than corporate said, I have to admit, even with pretty generous assumptions being made, there's still a huge gap of about $61,000 here that I just couldn't find. But then I learned Brian had made a special side deal with M&R Productions, who had recently purchased some Legos from him. And this is where it starts to get messy. So these are the pictures that M&R Productions sent me, looking at the Lego that Brian sold him. This was stuff reportedly in storage, and it's interesting because of an early inventory list, which had a column called location that Crystal used. And it listed a lot of Star Wars items as being located in what they called storage. Now, previously, I was told that all of the stuff in storage was put back in the store, but there's a bunch that's on this list that I can't find in the store that seem to appear in these pictures. Now, I've been assured, by the way, that most of these Legos were not part of the inventory spreadsheet. They were never given to Bricks and Minifigs. This is a separate part of the collection, but I did a check, and 100% of the items that matched the Brian collection inventory just so happened to be listed with a location of storage. So this starts to make things incredibly fuzzy, and I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these are part of that same inventory list. Now, if we take that value of the side deal, that's about $10,000 to $20,000 that's not actually missing. Now, it was at this point I started looking more at the point of sales records. I realized maybe we could find some of this missing Lego there too. So this is from the Salem internal store records. Like, I guess this is what is entered when someone does a sale, and it's everything from September 2023 to November 2024 of Star Wars anything. And by the way, before we continue, yes, this was all a lot of work. If you want to, please support us on Patreon. That's how this show gets made. But anyways, according to those records, about $51,000 in sales went through during this time period in a way that matched Brian Mansell's collection. Now, that really worried me because Crystal's inventory list showed only $24,000 in sales for Brian, and Brian was only paid for that amount. But suddenly, I remembered back to a time when I spoke to Crystal, and I asked how much was sold prior to the takeover.
Which is something similar from what you told me, Crystal.
Yeah.
You told me, hey, it was about 50-something thousand.
Yeah.
But Brian was only paid $17,000.
Okay.
And it should have been about double that. And I'm just trying to make sense of that, given that everyone's accusing each other of theft right now. You understand?
I mean, without seeing any of those records, without seeing those individual tickets, I can't answer that any better.
Okay, this is kind of a problem. The math ain't math in here. 65 to 70% of 50,000 is almost double what we believe Brian was paid. And digging into the details, it turns out a lot of these sales come from what Crystal's spreadsheet actually categorizes as layaways, meaning they were marked as having been sold, but layaways are when someone puts a down payment on an item and later pays it off. But the problem was there were a lot of these, worth about $20,000 in layaway, and that felt a little strange to me. And because of that, I asked Josh Johnson, the incoming owner, and he responded, quote, there were 2 to 3 items on layaway when they took over.
So on the list of on the inventory list, do you know about how many layaways?
I haven't gone through and done a count, but I know it was vastly more than 2 to 3.
It's about 98.
That makes sense.
So there were about $15,000 to $25,000 worth of sets on layaway.
Okay.
That's just the part that's surprising. That's the part that I can't get my head around. I go, how could, let me just be really honest. I don't believe there was that much layaway. I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. How could there be that much layaway? I don't know. It's like I don't believe, because I was talking to some people about bricks and mini things. They go, yeah, there's some layaway. There's not that much layaway. I talked to people who were neutral, kind of on corporate side, but also people who were just normal bricks and mini things people. They say there's not that much layaway. Help me understand why there's $20,000 worth of layaway here.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. If you talk to other bricks and minifigs locations, layaway is extremely rare. I think outside of the Brian's collection, I don't.
Okay, good. I'm not crazy here. So then why was there so much layaway there?
No, absolutely not. Outside of Brian's collection, I think at the time we maybe had 2 used sets on layaway outside of his collection. It was not a common thing traditionally. I don't know that we'd ever done layaway before the collection came in. With Brian's collection, it was a little bit different because so much of this collection were new in box, all in one place, reasonably priced, and a lot of the harder to find items. And so customers would come in and put, I'm gonna guess probably half of those layaway items were not gonna be sold to the person who took them on layaway. Because we had several that would put them on layaway and then change their mind. So this was something like, somebody would come in and want 10 different sets, but only be able to buy 1. Can I put the rest of those on layaway so you don't sell them? I'll pay $10 to put these sets on layaway. Traditionally with layaway, we would ask for 10% down. They'd have 30 days to make their next payment, or we'd refund the layaway amount and then put it back on the shelf. Because this collection was the collection it was, and I wanted to give these people the opportunity to, to get these sets, we were a lot more generous with how long and the amount of payments that people could make towards the layaway. So a lot of these, we had several of them. I think one of the Ewok villages, we put on layaway 4 different times, and then it came off of layaway and back on layaway and then off and then sold. So a lot of these would have gone on and off of layaway and then back out on the shelf, just depending on the person who was putting it on layaway. That was completely unique to this collection.
So look, I'll be honest, I don't trust Josh Johnson, but something is weird here.
So a lot of these are, look at this, it says POS final sale price, but it's listed as a layaway, but it's sold for $5.99.
Yeah.
Because it matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So were they on layaway? Were they accidentally marked layaway on the spreadsheet? What's going on there?
I mean, without seeing the actual sales ticket and seeing what else, what items were sold together, what else was sold with it, I can't actually see the sales ticket. We had several layaway items in which customers were putting multiple things on layaway, paying for most of one item, and then, or they were buying, 8 different things together, and then putting all of them on layaway and making payments on multiple items at the same time. Our Ewok village was one of those cases. At some point, he had, I think, 8 or 9 different items on layaway. So they'd come in and make a payment for a bulk payment. I've got 800 things on layaway. I'm gonna make $100 on my payment. One customer in particular would do that, and then when he'd gotten up high enough to pay for one set, we'd pull that set out, mark it as sold. So without seeing the actual tickets and my layaway records, I cannot answer a question any clearer than that.
But I even found more than that in this POS data. I also found about $10,000 in sales that matched Brian's collection that were not marked as sold under this inventory spreadsheet.
Some of our things that were not found were explained by the POS system because they were found in the POS system as being sold. So they weren't marked on the spreadsheet, but they were marked as sold via the POS system. And this is about $10,000 worth of Lego that basically were matched.
Huh. See, and I don't know. Take anything happening from, let's see, sorry, I'm trying to do math here. I don't know without being able to see all of the records. There's a possibility that the consignments were ended when I wasn't at work and I just didn't go through and pull them up. They didn't get put in the consignment ticket. I hadn't gone through those consignments in a couple of months. I hadn't gone through the inventory in the back room in a couple of months. So it is entirely possible there were sales that were finished that I never clocked as being finished. I don't know that without going through and actually seeing it.
But you're saying it's possible stuff was sold, not updated on this inventory list.
It's entirely possible that stuff did not get updated on my spreadsheet. I'm not gonna sit here and claim it's not possible. It's possible I missed things.
So where does this leave us? I know some people are jumping to conclusions here, but I must remind you that on the night of November 14th, 2024, Crystal Gorman was concerned about Brian getting paid or not getting paid.
He has not been paid his percentage yet, and if I don't have the tickets, I won't know how much I need to pay him.
So Crystal, ultimately, that's a business thing and not necessarily yours. Brandon, okay, because taking on the business, he takes on all that. That's on them.
So obviously, one could see that and say she was intending to reconcile with Brian. Maybe she hadn't gotten around to it. And of course, corporate will probably take a more cynical view of what she's doing by printing these receipts. But the point is, regardless of whose side you're on, I think we can all agree there's a lot of weird stuff here on all sides. Abnormal stuff. Sure, maybe you can chalk some of this up to bad record keeping between the U-Haul, the layaways, the $20,000 in Lego sets that corporate called $2,000 to $5,000 that was there that night, the off-book deals. But even if we can't fully know 100%, what these weird things were about, I think they tell a story of what actually happened to Brian's collection. In a way, multiple people, I think, are kind of right, kind of wrong. The Gormans were correct that more of that collection was there that night of the takeover than previously thought. But corporate also alleged that some of it was offsite, and that appears to be partly true, although some of that is disputed, and it looks like,
Protein donate tellers thoughts on Brian Johnson, his longevity approach science. It's fine. Thanks for that donation, Proteins.
way more of the collection was sold and layawayed than Brian was paid for. But all in all, there's a lot less missing than many people think, especially if your starting number is $200,000. I estimated, and I must emphasize, estimated with bad records, that there's only about $10,000 to $20,000 in Lego that isn't explained by one of these sources. This isn't to say Brian's been fully compensated. Much of this, Brian wasn't paid for that I know of. So I estimate he's still out about $50,000 to $83,000 for Lego he wasn't compensated for. And I think, honestly, that's something that Bricks and Minifigs obviously should handle and make right. Regardless of what a franchisee does, the new one, the old one, the company behind it must stand behind their product, their service, and I can't imagine a better example of a company doing the opposite. Unfortunately, Bricks and Minifigs has chosen to deflect and dodge responsibility at most opportunities and created a really awful customer experience that has snowballed into this crazy series of events. But instead of taking accountability for that, they've taken an aggressive legal strategy, which I told them personally was a horrible idea. As of writing this, Brian Mansell is being sued for $1.3 million as part of a legal campaign against him and Reckless Ben and any of the associates. Remember, Brian is the same guy who lost all these Legos at Bricks and Minifigs store, and I told the CEO and COO that's ridiculous and they should drop this. Look, mistakes have been made by plenty of people here, but there's a lot more people who have inflicted self-owns, the likes of which we've rarely seen, by just choosing the worst possible path at every fork in the road. No pun intended. But the best path to making
21st century tellers, what is the best thing to use to cook? Grill, frying pan, wok? What do you use for your food prep, and do you get enough sun there? Who cares? Cook with whatever the fuck you want. Doesn't make a difference. And yeah, I think I get enough sun. Thanks for the donation, dude.
things right, in my view, is by just making Brian whole and moving on. Drop the aggressive legal strategy. You are a Lego store at the end of the day. You are supposed to be about fun, not about a rerun of Suits. But anyways, that's my investigation. Those are my closing thoughts. And I knew I wanted to approach everyone involved in this whole story with my results and see what they thought to close things out.
Does all that make sense to you? Because I'm showing everyone in this story and saying, hey, are any of these numbers blowing your mind, or is any of this crazy to you?
No, it's not. But what's crazy, again, like all the photo evidence that both sides have points to there being sure $20,000 worth of Lego of Star Wars Lego in the store that night, right? I don't know. I'm just like, can people understand maybe why there was some confusion and why there was some hesitation when somebody comes in and says, hey, you owe me $60,000 worth of product in Lego, and we go, we don't even know who you are. Like, yeah, Crystal mentioned something about consignment on her way out the door, and we go, sure, we'll get that figured out. But then the guy just walks in and demands $60,000 worth of Lego. Like, what am I supposed to do other than say, cool, show me, can you show me the proof?
21st Century Tellers, Low, did you see your stupid, ugly, N-word face when you responded to my dono? Because I did. That's great. Thanks for the donation, dude.
The problem is there's so much of a dispute on the timeline, and this is what's going to make the story so hard to tell. Is like, they say, you guys are unreasonable. They tried, and eventually they gave up. But they say they tried it. They were basically met with, like, unreasonable requests, things like that. So
verification? Documentation? Is that unreasonable, you think?
Well, I think they would say they provided the documentation, and you guys say you need more documentation. So I mean, that's kind of the
right. A spread, like I understand, a spreadsheet and a contract are a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never got that. That was never sent to us at corporate, by the way.
Y'all do have the spreadsheet though, yeah?
That was shared online, but months after we asked for it.
It says it's. I'm so confused. It says I'm on the file right now. It says storage used, owned by BAM Franchising Inc. Owner Salem.or bricksandminifigs.com.
What are you looking at?
It says owner Salem.or at bricksandminifigs.com. That's you guys. It says owned by BAM Franchising Inc. It says created September 6, 2024.
Why the fuck are you acting like that, Richard?
Mm-hmm.
When I look at it, this is the Mansell list, I believe.
So this would have been created under so we have the
y'all definitely have this. Y'all have access to this.
Well, I had no idea. Like, so if this is the first that anybody has shown me that a spreadsheet was created using like Bricks and Minifigs, Salem, like, and all of this stuff was archived. This is the first I've seen that this spreadsheet was created by Crystal. And we don't know how accurate it is, how up to date it was. We don't know a lot of those types of things. And understand, I appreciate you sharing this with us because we had no idea. Again, you don't know what you don't know. And you can't, like, we don't know everything. And we don't go, you know, like, looking in every nook and cranny everywhere. You know, like, we just don't know some of those things. So if that's there, we can now have our team go look for that.
When it comes right down to it, they're going to have to make a judgment call and say, who's telling the truth? The people who are taking all the pictures and say, and we couldn't take pictures of everything the night of, but
At a moment, don't I tell her, what the fuck do you mean? It's fine, bro. Oh my god, don't make me come over there. Most of what he's doing is fine. Like, oh my fucking god, dude. You know, like, when you ask me these stupid fucking open-ended questions, what do you think of Brian Johnson's protocol? Okay, well, he has a fucking sleep protocol. He drinks a certain amount of fucking water. Uses electrolytes to stay hydrated. He does sauna. He does red light therapy. He's done like tons of different fucking drugs and medications. Like he's used metformin, testosterone. I know he has like some thyroid problem. He's on thyroid medications. He takes like 100 different fucking supplements. Like what the fuck do you want from me? Okay? Like from what I've seen, his like healthy living protocol just seems fine. Holy fuck. 21st, I don't care, dude.
we're being honest consistently, and the people who are saying, there was $5,000 there. Really? Like, that makes no sense. We've got the evidence, and yes, there's a discrepancy. We acknowledge we did not take pictures of everything, but does that mean that the discrepancy is, oh, and therefore these missing, percentage, whatever that would be, 5%, is some magical other place? Or it was sitting there in the store, and we didn't get pictures of it.
If I messed up on record keeping, I will take accountability for that, if possible. If my staff didn't draw attention that consignments had left out, so I'd move them to the thing. Any of that, I will take accountability to that. I am more than willing to do that. I need BAM to show me those tickets.
As they promised to do.
I will sit down with Brian and talk this over and figure out what we missed and where it was missed and how it was missed and make that right with him.
I mean, that's new information no one's ever found out, so that's like awesome. They're gonna lose hundreds of millions of dollars because of their own wrongdoing. They're literally gonna destroy their entire company because they're this stubborn over maybe $20,000 worth of Lego.
Sure, I'll be keeping you in the loop with what
Nice, I'm excited. This was good work. My other final thoughts is, dude, you solved it, dude. That's awesome.
They're suing Brian Mansell. That's weird. How much longer do you think you can keep doing this YouTube thing? I don't think it's sustainable for you in terms of you mentally being able to handle it, at least. The live streams, do you think you'll crack at some point, not be able to do live streams anymore? I don't know, we'll see, whatever. Thanks for the donation, dude. Well, that's, my mom made her tell her it's okay, bro. Sorry, shit. Hope you feel better. Good. Or God. Okay, great. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
21st, $20. I don't care if you have to stop streaming and make no money and suck Isaac's pee-pee for a living. It'll save me money, so I don't really care. You're boring at this point, always acting like a stupid N-word. Maybe Sugar Mommy Pat will take care of it. Yeah, sure, thanks.
First one I showed you was 1 minute, this one is 2 minutes. I put 2 poems together with iVoice.
The powerful power of the eternal life force current in the highest
Is there gonna be a black dick in this?
sphere of the universe, in a sense of the infinite, as pure holiness, in the universal unity of light and shadow, as balance in all of the dimensions, in the total light of the total energy of the total now, as the one line of the all in all, ancient and royal. Sacred and divine, majestical being in the infinite completion of the total now, as source awareness.
Yeah, it's garbage. Thanks for the donation. Oh. Wow. That's good. Donut tellers, no wonder they all suck at their jobs. They're retarded, they don't know how to eat.
In the Wall Street Journal that caught our eye today, and we talked about this earlier in the program. So the hottest diet in the West Wing is grass-fed beef and sauerkraut and kimchi. And not only does RFK Jr., okay, whatever, he does it. Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and now also Kevin McCarthy, the former House Speaker, all following the advice of Dr. Sean O'Mara, who, for a first-time consult on this in person, charges $18,000. So good on you, doctor, for getting that kind of cash to talk about kimchi, sauerkraut, and grass-fed beef. Aaron, what does this tell us?
Well,
if anything.
It tells us that they are dedicated to their health and fitness. It tells us that they enjoy a fermented meal of smelly food that I would not be carrying around with me.
Wow, this is insane. Is there nudity in this? What is this? I don't know what that is. Some kind of scanner. Okay. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Maria Eduarda Rodriguez de Freitas. First, I'll look at the background of this case, including the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Maria Eduarda Rodriguez de Freitas was born sometime around 2005 and lived in Brazil. By 2026, she was a college student who had dreams of being a physical education teacher. On June 13, 2026, Maria made her way to a bridge in Limeira, Sao Paulo, called the Skeleton Bridge. There were people on the bridge operating a rope jumping experience at this time. This was really an informal group of rope jumping enthusiasts. They were not part of an actual company. Rope jumping is an extreme sport where a person jumps from a high place, like a bridge, while wearing a harness attached to a low-stretch climbing-style rope. The idea here is that as they head toward the ground, the rope pulls them to one side and they swing like a pendulum. It's not the same thing as bungee jumping, which involves a cord that is much more elastic and a jump that goes straight down and comes up a little. Skeleton Bridge is 130 feet tall, which is an adequate height for rope jumping. However, the bridge was closed. It was not in service for any type of sporting activity, vehicle traffic, or pedestrian traffic. The rope jumping group did not have any type of permit to conduct sporting activity at the site, yet, allegedly, They had been operating there for about a year. On social media, where the group had 80,000 followers, they were advertising the rope jumping experience. They used promotional slogans like, "You dream, we make it happen," and "A jump into the extraordinary." On that day, the instructors planned on conducting 100 jumps. Converted to US dollars, the company was charging $35.27 per jump. If a participant wanted video from a GoPro camera, there was an extra charge of $21.55. Maria was excited to take part in the rope jump. She posted a series of stories on Instagram prior to the jump, saying, "Who was the crazy person who let me come jump off a bridge?"
Dodo Nutellers, it's a replacement for MRI scans that only takes a minute and have no radiation or magnets. Also watch this. Okay, cool.
Welcome. I'm Noel Latif, president of the Foreign Policy Association.
Quite slow to come to Uganda. It was one of the last in the wave of democratization that...
The importance of Kenya.
I'm not watching that. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
3 instructors were working on the bridge that day. A 32-year-old firefighter named Luis Felipe Feliciano Igorov, a 42-year-old film production company worker named Maicon Fernandez Sintra, and a 27-year-old tour operator named Vitor de Freitas Goncalves. The instructors prepared Maria for her jump. She was fitted with a helmet and a harness. However, no rope was attached to the harness. This is a fairly significant omission in the rope jumping industry. Maria wanted to be launched over the edge of the bridge airplane style, so the 3 instructors lifted her up above their heads, and Maria kept her arms out to the side. This was the first airplane style jump of that day. Evidently, this configuration was not a popular request among rope jumping customers. After Maria was lifted up by the 3 instructors, 2 of those instructors carried her out to the edge of the bridge on a narrow landing. In her right hand, Maria could be seen holding a GoPro camera that belonged to the instructors. At this point, the 2 instructors who were lifting Maria in the air threw her off the bridge. Again, no rope was attached to her harness. A witness who was recording the jump could be heard saying, "Guys, the rope." Maria fell 131 feet and slammed into the ground.
Watch these than anything but Todd Grand.
What if AI had its own futures? Oil prices can swing dramatically, so airlines often use futures contracts to lock in fuel costs months ahead of time. Now, a similar idea may be coming to artificial intelligence. AI companies are spending billions of dollars on computing power to train and run models. But the future cost of that compute can be difficult to predict. The world's first futures contract based on the price of AI compute, pending regulatory approval. Graphic processing units are the specialized chips that power AI.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, sure.
Fried food. What's not to love? It's delicious, but also generally bad for you. And curiously, the same could be said of some stocks in Indonesia. In fact, they're often called
deep fried stocks. While they may look tasty on the outside, inside, they're really not that healthy.
You really know when somebody's fat when their hands are fat. Like, you have to be really fat for your hands to get fat. Holy shit.
Unhealthy stocks are just one of the reasons investors have become wary of Indonesia's stock market, which until recently was the biggest in Southeast Asia. And concerns are growing over the country's potential for growth more broadly.
Just 3 to 4 years ago, it was an investor's darling. There was so much buzz.
It's one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
At $1.5 trillion, Indonesia's GDP is more than Singapore's and Thailand's combined.
Within Southeast Asia itself, Indonesia is the largest economy.
Indonesia wants to be on the world stage. It wants to grow faster, and it has all the ingredients for it.
But fear of corruption and policy missteps, both in markets and government, is putting this path at risk.
Moody's warns Indonesia's tighter export controls may spook investors.
The Indonesia market here down about 19% in the past year.
Indonesia's currency, the rupiah, has fallen to all-time lows against the US dollar in 2026, and analysts doubt it will rebound anytime soon.
It's actually one of
Indonesia is the world's fourth most populous country, more than 280 million people. And that's spread across an archipelago. If you strung it out from across the Atlantic Ocean, it would stretch from New York to London.
There's also a higher group of younger people living in Indonesia, which makes it an attractive consumer market.
Fashion brands from Uniqlo to Zara all have operations here. It is the world's biggest producer of Barbie dolls, one of the biggest producers of Hot Wheel cars.
Start your engines.
It's the world's largest palm oil exporter, nickel producer, and the world's largest exporter of thermal coal.
Such vast natural resources have meant Indonesia always had a lot going for it.
Indonesia's economy really took off in the 1970s and 80s when the country was a net oil exporter. It was a member of OPEC. And during those years, it was growing at 6%, 7%, 8% sometimes.
Much of this growth was overseen by President Suharto. Although his authoritarian regime raised living standards and expanded the economy, it was also marked by widespread corruption and serious human rights abuses. Tensions came to a head in the late 90s when the Asian financial crisis triggered a collapse in regional currencies and plunged Indonesia into economic and political turmoil.
In Indonesia, the rupiah was particularly hard hit, and eventually it led to the near collapse of the banking system.
Suharto was forced to resign in 1998.
And it really ushered in a new age of democracy and financial controls in Indonesia. A lot of them are still in place today, including one of the biggest one that international investors watch, which is the 3% cap on budget deficit spending.
Sengoku no detailers, would it be wise to do flat barbell and inclined barbell bench in the same session, or should I just do one or the other? It's fine. You're going to be weaker doing, the one movement after the other, but if you alternate, it's fine. Or, if you just do different variations, different days. So it's fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Thanks for the donation, Sengoku.
Limits on deficit spending presented Indonesia as a responsible nation. Foreign investments coming into the country soared in the 2010s, surpassing Vietnam, Malaysia, and Thailand. This helped fuel the nation's GDP. With the exception of the Asian financial crisis and COVID, Indonesia has had steady growth of around 5% a year for the past 2 decades. By 2014, when Joko Widodo assumed the presidency, Indonesia was viewed as the rising star in the region.
Joko Widodo started to implement much more market-friendly policies, allowing foreign investors to come in through areas such as infrastructure, trying to get companies to invest in the country's commodity market. And that actually generated a lot of excitement among not just domestic businesses or foreign companies, but also to the larger international market.
But prosperity on paper has concealed the nation's pervasive wealth disparities, which led to violent protests in 2025.
Public outrage over inequality and rising living costs.
The country's middle class, shown here in red.
Animal Liberation, $2. Will you give my new single little airtime here? Much appreciated. Sure.
How can we expect to liberate ourselves when we put the most vulnerable into a life of hell? Cognitive dissonance, it fuels the death machine. What lies they sell on blood-drunk spells. Me, I tell you, when I look at the world, I see shame and aggravation. Is there no way out? How do we fix this situation? All of you who hate, forcing others to protest.
Do you think you'd be less of an insufferable bitch if you weren't long-distance dating, and instead had a girl nearby to keep your dick wet? Someone told me never do long-distance dating. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake, retard?
First question, no. Second question, yes. Thanks for the donation.
Tell you what, when judgment is impaired by our vanity, an unjust imposition is put upon humanity, bringing newborns to suffer onto earth without consent, expecting them to slave and pay the rent. Ja. We're voting with our dollar to make the rich get richer and the poor feel smaller. The cost of all of our pleasures is forcing others to live in squalor. Our attempts seem so feeble to oppose all this evil from lies they sell on blood-drunk spells. And those who have the privilege to know.
My main problem with the song is it sounds like such a generic beat, like I've heard it somewhere else like a million times. It's just a little too repetitive. Like the lyrics are fine and everything. I like the message, but yeah, it's just the actual tune. It just sounds like something I've heard a million times. There's not like enough unique to it. So that's my like, constructive criticism. It's just not my type of music in general, to be fair. Thanks for the donation though, dude. Bro man, don't you tell I was alright, man? Good night. Can you tuck me in, at least say goodnight back? No. Thanks for the donation though, dude.
Has shrunk since 2018, with the number of vulnerable and poor rising. Indonesia's current president has approached these problems from a new angle.
President Prabowo Subianto has deep beliefs in state-led capitalism.
One strategy has been to launch a sovereign wealth fund like those in Singapore or the Middle East. It's named Danantara.
The idea is to actually manage hundreds of the country's state-owned enterprises, which the president has deemed as, being inefficient. It's supposed to also get foreign investments.
One of the major concerns with Danantara is simply governance.
It's seen as some sort of a piggy bank to fund some of the president's social policies, and that is creating some confusion.
It's like the tone is sort of droning. There's no like progression through the course of the song. It kind of feels like an NES game where it's like the same like 10-second loop or something. I think if you could have like a progression to the tune, that would help a lot.
Among foreign investors,
Prabowo has also announced plans to tighten control over some of the country's biggest commodities, calling for a new state-appointed company to manage exports of palm oil, coal, and some nickel products.
The intention of this policy is to crack down on something called under-invoicing, which basically allows you to shift some of those profits offshore and avoid taxation in Indonesia.
Because it's under Danantara, it will be market-friendly, it will be for profit.
It would also boost state revenue needed to fund Prabowo's costly flagship plans, including his multi-billion-dollar free meals program for school children and pregnant women.
Our free meals strengthens our economy.
The program is popular among some voters, but so far positive effects across the economy have yet to materialize. It's also created strain on the country's budget.
Because of this expensive social welfare programs, the country is actually close to breaching its 3% legal limit.
This shit is rarely ever a good idea. The private sector is just better at providing food. Like, you can look at the mass starvation and death under communism. Like, there's a reason behind that. Like, yeah, some of it's kind of planned. Like, you know, Mao Zedong with the crazy food exports and basically stealing all the food from farmers and stuff and having people starve to death to, like, some of that's planned, but, like, over and over and over again, you see the shit. Like, markets work themselves out. There's a reason why, like, Americans are so fat. It's not just because they're, like, retarded fucking gluttons. Like, that's part of it. But it's just that they're, like, it's a competitive economy, and they've just found out how to make food fucking cheaper. Like, communists just don't do that. Everything stays fucking expensive, and productivity stays low. Usually these social welfare programs just aren't as good as just letting a free market fucking figure itself out.
Not including the pandemic years, Indonesia's budget deficit in 2025 hit its highest level in the past 2 decades.
International investors are worried that the fiscal state isn't quite what it used to be.
This leads us back to those deep-fried stocks.
It's how people in Indonesia call stocks that are heavily manipulated.
Large amounts of stocks in Indonesia are owned by the nation's wealthiest tycoons. And because of this concentration, the amount of shares available for public trade, called free float, is actually quite small in some stocks. And ownership isn't always transparent.
Most countries set a minimum free float requirement to make sure markets stay liquid. But in Indonesia, that requirement is much lower than in many other markets.
You can see that here. Until recently, Indonesia had the lowest free float requirement in the region. A low free float means it only takes a relatively small amount of trading volume to move the price significantly.
And because of this, prices can rise very quickly, but crash very fast.
Such market irregularities prompted MSCI, a global stock market index provider, to warn that it may reduce Indonesia's weight in its emerging markets index.
The most shocking element was the prospect of potentially downgrading Indonesia's stock market to frontier market status.
In the stock market, you saw a sell-off that you hadn't seen since the 1998 financial crisis. And months later, the market is still one of the worst performing in the world.
It impacts where they are in the pecking order of a particular investment universe.
Another clear indicator of stress are the high yields Indonesia is paying on its bonds.
The higher the bond yield, the more a certain government needs to pay for those who invest in the nation's bonds. In Indonesia's case, it's one of the highest in Asia.
Prabowo's government is trying to limit the damage and has vowed to address some of these structural issues. In March, financial regulators approved a measure to double the country's minimum free float requirement.
Now, the devil's in the details. How long will it take them to really increase transparency about who owns what stocks? And will they go after some of the big market players that might be guilty of market manipulations?
All of this is happening against the upheaval of tariffs and war.
Fuel prices in Indonesia are some of the cheapest in the region. If the president really wants to keep fuel prices low, he's going to have to pay for it if oil prices keep rising.
A lot of emerging market currencies have come under pressure. So if we see continued selling of the rupiah, of its bonds, of its stocks, it shows that investor interest in some of the real growth stories in Asia that's waning.
If there's a global loss of trust in Indonesia, Indonesia becomes more insular. I don't think anyone in Indonesian government, Indonesian business wants to see a more insular country.
A nurse who went to render aid said that Maria was still alive when she arrived. Maria died shortly after this. The police were called
Jesus.
to the scene, where they arrested one instructor. The other two instructors gave documents to the police, but then fled into vegetation when an officer stepped away. A military helicopter was used to pursue them. Ultimately, these 2 instructors were arrested as well. The 3 instructors were charged with homicide with eventual intent. This is roughly equivalent to second-degree murder based on a reckless disregard for human life. Sometimes this is called a depraved heart murder. While in custody, the men admitted that they did not have any formal business registration or municipal permit for rope jumping on Skeleton Bridge. Luis was the instructor who was in the front carrying Maria to the edge. He had his hands on or near her shoulders. He claimed that he and Macon were responsible for attaching the rope. Luis said, "I went to the front first. After that, it erased from my mind. I can't remember." Macon was the instructor who was in the back while walking to the edge. His hand
there's no rope there. Probably should have said something.
Hands were on Maria's legs. Macon said, "It's just us 3 on the jump. I can't understand at what moment I didn't see the rope. I simply cannot understand." Vitor was the instructor who initially helped to lift Maria, but he did not walk her out to the edge. The GoPro camera that Maria was holding was not located after the incident. When asked about this camera, Vitor said, "Right, yeah, we don't know." At the time I am making this video, the 3 instructors are making their way through the criminal justice system in Brazil. If convicted, they are facing 6 to 20 years in prison. Brazilian prisons are not known for...
Yeah, I've been busy. Haven't really been able to dedicate any time into, like, songwriting.
...for luxury or comfort. They are among the most dangerous, violent, gang-infested, and overcrowded prisons in the world, only slightly less forgiving than gravity. Now moving to my analysis. Presumably, the 3 instructors will argue that they are not guilty of any crime, or they are guilty of homicide caused by negligence. If convicted of this lesser charge, the sentence range would be 1 to 3 years instead of 6 to 20 years. As I mentioned, the men were charged with an offense similar to second-degree murder. The lesser charge is roughly equivalent to involuntary manslaughter. The Brazilian government, of course, disagrees, arguing that the men demonstrated a reckless disregard for a known risk of death. This brings me to the question, were the 3 instructors guilty of any crime in this case?
Yeah, like they're retarded.
Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that they were guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. The instructors launched Maria off the bridge without a safety rope attached to her harness. Clearly, they understood how rope jumping was supposed to function. Maria was wearing a helmet and a harness. The instructors were wearing harnesses with safety ropes attached, and a rope was available for Maria on the bridge. Rope jumping is not a particularly complex endeavor. As the name suggests, it has 2 components, the rope and the jumping. The rope is a critical component of rope jumping because without the rope, it would just be jumping. The timing of the rope attachment is also important. Most rope jumping experts strongly recommend attaching the rope prior to jumping because failing to do so will result in death. This seems pretty easy to figure out. It wasn't like the instructors were operating a complex machine where failing to activate a series of switches in a precise order causes an explosion. They were not flying the space shuttle here. Presumably, they had done this thousands of times before. As I mentioned, they had 100 jumps planned for just that day. Witnesses said that during the previous jumps, the instructors had checked customers by pulling the rope. For Maria's jump, they skipped this step. The instructors were not authorized to engage in rope jumping on Skeleton Bridge. They did not have a permit. 2 of the instructors fled into vegetation and had to be chased down by the police. Moving to the exculpatory factors, the instructors did not have a motive to kill Maria. Just because 2 of the men panicked and ran away afterward doesn't mean they had prior intent to cause harm. The instructors had facilitated several successful jumps that day. No one had died. They may have genuinely failed to notice that the rope was not attached to Maria's harness. Confusion over roles may have contributed to this failure.
Dollars react to this video, please. Double checked it, and there's no pictures of baby faces.
In 2024, a baby was...
Yeah, this video is stupid. I've already seen it. So, he made a big error here. I actually have to comment. I don't know if anybody I go through this in the full write-up on my website. Okay. So, yeah, the semaglutide thing, weight loss, obesity, people talk about lean mass loss, or muscle mass loss with, these GLP-1 agonists. He made a bit of an oops here.
It out and gaunt. So some people started to panic that these drugs were melting people's muscle away. But we do need some critical context here, because the truth is far more boring and reassuring than the panic. So when researchers pulled 22 trials of these drugs and added up exactly where that weight loss actually came from, about a quarter of it was muscle, and 3/4 of it.
So you'll see in the study, it says approximately 25% of the total weight loss is lean mass. Lean mass is not the same thing as muscle mass. So, a lot of the time they'll use either DEXA or some sort of there's that weird technique that uses electrical impedance. There's that body pod thing. There's a number of techniques they use. They very rarely ever use MRI machines, and even they can be inaccurate. Your muscles are mostly made of water, and if you lose body water, you're gonna like not only just lose mass that doesn't show up as body fat, but your muscles are also going to shrink in terms of cross-sectional area. If you're in a substantive caloric deficit, you're going to lose body water. So like I was just recently dieting, and it was a pretty aggressive diet. It was 1,600 calories per day. I went from 245 to 225 in about a month. And literally within 3 days of just eating, not even at maintenance, just slightly more, I was eating about 2,300 calories a day. That gained me about 5 pounds within 3 days. And that's not body fat, obviously. I was still in a mild deficit. So you're going to have increases in body water content as your calories increase. That's going to increase not only lean mass content, because water isn't fat, but it also increases cross-sectional area of the muscle. So when people say approximately 25% total weight loss is lean mass, it's not. It's not muscle mass. It's likely body water. It's likely mostly body water content, especially when we're talking about people who are actually exercising. You're probably not going to lose any muscle mass. So this is all just bullshit. There's a right way and a wrong way to take advantage of some of these drugs. If you're going to just take GLP-1 agonists, eat like 2 Oreos and a couple potato chips a day, and not exercise, like, yeah, you'll lose body fat. You'll also lose a fair bit of muscle. If you eat an appropriately planned diet, like you'll have a protein shake and maybe block tofu or something and some vegetables, and you go to the gym and weight train, like you're not going to lose any muscle and you'll lose more body fat. It's entirely how these drugs are being used that contributes to actual muscle mass loss. Secondly, there's not really any evidence that myostatin has any effect on full-grown adults. It seems to have an effect in children. And it's because hyperplasia occurs when you're a small infant. So if you have a myostatin deficiency, what this ends up doing is it increases the rate of hyperplasia when you're growing, and it results in more muscle mass. That's why like the Belgian blue cattle are like massive. If you were to introduce that gene when they're an adult, it probably wouldn't do anything. And then he goes on to talk about abacrumab or whatever the fuck weird drug it's called. There's 2 different drugs that are being designed that are myostatin inhibitors. they basically showed no benefit whatsoever in animal models. The research was extremely stupid. Basically, what they did was they starved a bunch of mice, and they then introduced this this drug. And what it did was it just made them normal. So they didn't actually grow any more muscle than they had at baseline. So was the drug really doing anything? And it's just mice. And then they started some human trials. Basically, there were horrible side effects. Extraordinarily high side effect rate. And I think there were 2 deaths. And one of these drugs is being completely discontinued. In terms of research by this company. What blows my fucking mind is we have anabolic steroids that are extraordinarily safe and effective. So why are we even talking about this? So it's garbage. Like, these drugs right now are garbage compared to anabolic androgenic steroids. Steroids are more effective. Like look at bodybuilders. Look at Ronnie Coleman. Show me any humans that are getting jacked on these fucking drugs. Nobody. So you see very little change in actual body composition using these drugs. It's practically nothing. Now, to be fair, these aren't people who are bodybuilders who are trying to get as jacked as possible, but compare these results with, again, testosterone treatment. You're not going to see any difference. And again, with testosterone, it lowers cholesterol, whereas this guy mentions cholesterol increased on this bimagrumab stupid drug. And that's even with the use of a GLP-1 agonist, which lowers cholesterol. So testosterone also has other vasodilative benefits. It doesn't seem to increase blood pressure, at least on average. When you look at randomized trials, again, individual results may vary, and it's also a time-sensitive effect. You might have a blood pressure increase initially, but it tends to go down. So at least for men, why wouldn't you just recommend testosterone treatment or something? Women, they could use something like Anavar, Oxandrolone, and women can take testosterone just in smaller doses. So why are we talking about these fucking drugs? It's stupid. So these drugs are trash. Maybe they'll crack the code on all this, myostatin inhibitor bullshit, but there's no biological plausibility to assume it really does anything, at least as its own independent treatment in adults. Because the way it works is it allows hyperplasia to occur at much higher rates when you're an infant and when you're in the fetal state. It doesn't really do anything when you're an adult. So possibly if you introduce other anabolic agents like growth hormone and testosterone and shit, that might hyperaccelerate hyperplasia if you combine this drug with other anabolic agents, but that's not what they're doing. So this is just it's all horseshit.
So one half also got the apitegromab, the muscle protector, and the other half got a dummy infusion on top. Neither patients nor the doctors knew who got which. After 6 months, they measured everyone and measured precisely how much of the weight that was lost was from fat and how much was from lean mass. And
yeah, so there's a difference between fat and lean mass. These drugs may just be causing water retention.
The combination appeared to work, so the group on the apitegromab, they lost about half as much lean mass compared to the placebo group, both groups lost about the same amount of weight, but in the apitegromab group, a far bigger share of that weight was fat, about 85% fat versus 70% in the placebo.
Like, by the way, Jeremy Ether did some dumb faggot video where he got some people to go on his like diet and training program and stuff. He basically played this game where he knew there was going to be lean mass losses if they stayed in a diet phase when they got a DEXA scan. So what he did was he put them on a maintenance phase before they got the DEXA scan after they lost weight. And it showed that they actually had increases in lean mass. So, like, just water weight balance plays a massive fucking role in this. This may just be entirely due to water retention. Like, as far as I know, they're not measuring muscle cross-sectional area because, again, they're talking about lean mass. They didn't mention specifically muscle cross-sectional area. So, like, this is just all... Don't, like, again, Mike Israetel kind of hyped up these drugs and he misrepresented the research, and I think he's probably, like, literally personally invested in some of these companies. These drugs are, like, as of right now, I don't see them coming to market anytime soon. It's just garbage.
Failure. Maybe they each lost track of who was supposed to attach the rope. They all believed it was someone else. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that the instructors were guilty of any crime? In my opinion, the instructors were guilty of second-degree murder. They recklessly disregarded a known risk. This was more than just negligence, which would be disregarding a risk they should have known about. The men fully understood how the rope was necessary to prevent death. No one conducted a final safety check, and 2 of them launched Maria off the bridge.
Yep, I would agree with that. Pretty retarded. I'm gonna go to bed now. But hope you all had fun. I've been having diarrhea, which I think is why I'm so fucking tired. My digestion's gotten better, but it's not, like, fully recovered. I started having diarrhea after I was taking sore throat, like, cold lozenges when I was sick, and it just hasn't gone away completely yet. So I think that's why I'm just so fucking tired.
Black guy runs against pole for €1.
That's great. Thanks for the donation. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Might do a workout stream if I have time to fit it in. We'll see. But I'll be on tomorrow night in whatever case. So, nighty night, sweet dreams. See you all tomorrow. Thanks again.